There's still more going down. Stretch looking pretty decent, but running out of material. How long will their high ground run last here? They do find some mats here. They might have to fight for it too. Zaf trying to get in there.
Off is the med kit. The heal off is on Stretch. I talked about how Calc's team was putting everything on his back to hold on to this one. They're putting everything on Stretch's back here. He has all the meds. He can't go down. He needs to play it safe. He gets an elimination onto Straw Hat Charlie. Nounsy goes down. Kalazo, D-Roller, and Class are lighting up the feed right now. Niddle goes down as well. Stretch gets another knock. They're setting up for it. They're going for the heal off. Sap has the material right now. We're only on 8th zone. We still have to make it 37 more seconds, and then 9th rotating. Monster, if this goes back, I have to think high ground can come out on top, but if it keeps pulling across, everything's on Calc right now. I talked about how the team was on his back. Their qualification is on his back. He's on the low ground. He has the splashes, he has the floppers, and he has fallen for the first time in competitive Fortnite history. Calculator will have to watch the FNCS finals.
He's gonna have to watch it from the sidelines, and who will make it all the way through? So far, it's Zayt, Saf, and Stretch. This will be a legendary run if they can maintain the fact that they've made it to every single FNCS. That's what's on the line here for Stretch. That's what's the reputation up in the air. And look at that. The Harpoon's gonna pull in 6 more Chug Splashes. Ozzy, you have to assume they are in the most prime situation right now. The best position to overtake this lobby now.
They are a trio down there. It's Mega Dubs and Eclipse. They're dropping all the meds to Stretch. This is everything. All eyes on this team. Zayt, Saf, and Stretch, 3 of the most notable players in NA East, have left it to the reboot round. There is no other trio in this. They have the high ground. Mega has the med kit. He has the floppers, but they don't have the builds. They're on low ground. They're handing each other meds. It's not going to matter. It's not going to come down to it. You're popping the med kit now. There's 49 seconds. Zayt, Saf, and Stretch have dominated this lobby. They're not even going to let it go down to a healer. Dubs is in shambles. Mega's back in Storm. He finds more meds though. He gets more splashes. He gets more floppers. Is this enough? He can pull off the double med kit. They RPGs them. They take down Dubs, but they don't take down Mega. He's deep in Storm. Stretch is setting up. He's looking. He's got the meds, but he's also got the eyes in the sky. Who has more meds? Stretch or Mega? Mega went out deep. He went in early. He's pushing back in. He knows he doesn't have it. He can't get the med kit off. That's it. As long as Stretch heals this, Zayt, Saf, and Stretch will be going through to the grand final. Stretch holds on to his history. He goes into every single FNCS grand finals, and what a game. Look at the loadout they had left, Monster. They didn't just win it, they won it in the most dominant fashion.
That rocket launcher, man, came into big play, half and half out, secure height. They take it from Dubs, Mega, and Eclipse, and then they secure it from there on out, and they have to fight for it there, Ozzy.
I mean, I'm out of words. I said it all. I think I threw my vocal cords out. I'm just going to leave you with it, Monster. Thank you.
Hey, we'll see you guys on the next one here. Obviously, we're going to send it back over to the desk. That was the reboot round. Take it home, guys.
The dream is still alive. Okay, bro. We're in the back. We're watching this unfold. I'm looking at Vivid. I'm like, bro, what's happened? Break this down. He's like, dude, they're on the high ground. Where's the AR fire? We swap over to Stretch. And Vivid, you saw it. Explain what happened. What transpired.
So listen, I won't lie. Going into the game, I was like, Zayt, Stretch, and Sap, they are my favorites. But I haven't seen high ground domination come in enough to deny these seal-offs. And they do it. The high ground kings, the high ground masters, Zayt himself pulls it off. The final circle doesn't even close, and they finish the game off. When we've seen in every other reboot round, insane heal-offs. 10 floppers used. Stretch had the heal-off to go like 35 seconds deep. They didn't even need it. I cannot believe Zayt, Stretch, and Sap clutched up this FNCS and are making it to finals after like what we can consider an upset today. They did it.
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. They had 420 HP of heals in Stretch's inventory alone. 420. 42 seconds ability of healing off, and they didn't even need to use it all out. What an incredible match we just watched.
Yeah, again, Zayt, Saf, and Stretch taking it home, man. They had height from half and half the 5th zone. There was a stat that we explained earlier. I believe it was 84% of the games that Zayt, Saf, and Stretch have high ground in half and half, they win. 84% of those. And then we saw earlier
rip like
Oh,
that.
claws on them were snapping. They were
Holy
popping
shit, yo.
off, so-
Okay.
It's perfection. They played it exactly as they needed to.
Yeah, I mean, we saw teams that were building up, trying to contest that. I know I saw some RBG shot over towards Colazzo shoot. They were trying to make an attempt for height, but no. It's not like nobody was going for height, right? They defended it well this game. They deserve this victory out, and they deserve their spot in the finals.
The storyline is set. Zaf, Stretch, that's right, I combined their names. They're going to finals. Fortnite fam, if you want more action, we're jumping NA West after this. And make sure you come back next week for the...
Beyond and talk and gameplay compared to the rest of their region. Taking a look at the display of power in Europe over the qualifiers, each first place team per weekend showed us exactly why they deserve the title of a super team. But when did these super teams form? How did they play in the past year as a whole? And what's their story?
In the debut of this FNCS, Guildhead, Wave Janus, and Oogway, better known as Chapix, became the first team to qualify for the semi-finals in Chapter 2, Season 5. Their story wasn't as dominant as in the past, with each player consistently changing which partners and teams they were on. The story really began in DreamHack, where Hen and Chapix started to play together as an international duo, placing 4th on EU Grand Finals, 13th on EU Grand Finals, and then even 1st on an open round in NA East. There was obvious chemistry, but no lock-on for this duo to play together in the FNCS, until Janus found his way in due to all of the shakeups happening between trios in Europe. With FNCS closing in and each variation of teams Janus was on not working out to their highest potential, he paired up with the duo the week of the qualifier, placing 2nd on the Trio Cash Cup in Europe that week and 8th on NA East.
Each player associated one word with their team, and that was consistency. We're not only talking about the placement here. Each time we would tune into this trio on the qualifier weekend, they would have 4 eliminations post early and mid game due to the playstyle and tendencies of Chapix and Hen. With each elim being worth 2 points, having an almost guarantee of 4 elims per game is going to be a huge swing for the team going into semis and hopefully grand finals. Combine that with the brain of the back-to-back FNCS champ, Janus, this trio is dubbed the complete and consistent super team. Moving along the tracks of time, Qualifier 2 popped up. It was Train H's Skite and Falconly, along with Grizzly's Robabs, who take home the crown with the most creative and risky plays we saw throughout all the qualifiers up to date. It was strange though. Historically, things looked a lot more reserved and passive. The results from Robabs and Falconly as a duo only led them to heats in the past. But now, in this new meta together, this trio defies statistics, fixes mistakes, and plays a free-flow version of Fortnite straight towards the top.
In Qualifier 1, this trio had uncontested spot at Misty Meadows and the best chance to qual compared to so many other teams present on the day. Due to this freedom though, they spent a lot of time looting and fell behind on Surge, unable to keep up with the pace of the lobby. What was the fix? Creating the pace themselves, pushing out earlier, making radical plays towards the endgame, invading other trio sightlines and space. They placed so well across the board too, upping both their average elims and placement over the day, securing that top spot.
They had amazing plays and retakes for height, defied all statistics coming into the day, earning the title of Zone Control Masters and the perfect placement super team. We've talked a lot about chemistry, but there's different levels of how close and in sync teams can actually be. This subject is no stranger to our next trio. Take Train H Alpha and Solary Blaster, a duo playing together since the days of World Cup, and combine them with the low ground clutch minister himself from France, Vitality Nick, and you get results of grade A++ in the chemistry department, as well as a first place finish in Qualifier 3.
Rotations are a huge thing from early to mid game in Fortnite, and this trio has stuck with dropping it craggy season after season, attacking rifts, new POIs, and even the 0 point on the rotations, regardless of if they're playing well or if they're in a slump. Being extremely comfortable with the drop spot, they have a lot of time to plan paths and never fall behind on surge damage in any game. Combine that with their love for low ground, they always end up in the best spot to be able to hit high average placement every game. That end game with a super cool retake, this trio was on low ground. Oh, that one game when they had an insane heal off? Yep, if it was EU, these guys were on ultimate low. RPG, Alpha and Blaster. End game 1v1? Yeah, Nikov either won it or they came in top 5 that game.
Consistent game plan, chemistry, clean low ground plays. They have the Seas of Fortnite on lock and have an entire nation to carry on their back coming into the semifinals this season of the FNCS. La lutte en dessous is the battle cry for this team on low ground, and we'll be seeing a lot of them this FNCS and beyond.
That's just 3 of the big super teams rolling into this FNCS. There's many more big prospects ready to take a shot at the Axe of Champions, and many underdogs still looking for their chance in the spotlight. Tune in to watch all these players make their plays on the island right after they drop out of the battle bus. Beep beep.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the FNCS. It is day number 2 of the action here in NA West. It's Zeke, it's Shy, it's Kelly. And if you just stuck around, you just saw the Kings. Zaf. That's right. It's Zaf and Zayd. I'm now making this a thing. It's Zaf and Stretch. The Kings, they continue the streak. They almost missed out on not making finals, but it didn't happen. Guess what? We're jumping right into the game. That's right! We don't even have time for a top of show because we're going into the first game. We're going to kick it over to our casters. They will be our eyes in the sky. You know them. You love them. It's Clay. It's Sundown. Let's kick off the day.
Let's go!
Oh. Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Kelly. And as they said, we're hopping right on into the action. Match is in progress. This is match number 1 here in the final heat in NA West right before we get into that reboot round action. My name's Sundown, joined here by Clay Stelligan. Clay, how you doing today, man?
Oh, I am so hyped. That reboot round action from all the different regions just getting me so excited to end the day with heat number 4. And of course, right after, we got the reboot round here for NA West. So it is going to be action-packed. And like Sundown said, we are hopping a little bit in. So you do see 10 players have already been eliminated. The zone is pulling south. And this team we're watching already picked up an entire trio's worth of elimination.
And that's going to be 6 points going over, 2 points per elimination, as you've seen throughout the course of the day. But if you are just joining us, welcome. We're going to be focusing on the top 8 teams here. Those are going to be the ones who are moving on to the finals, which will be occurring in next weekend. But right now, hopping on board here with Ordef, Rubenfu, and Buzzo, already rocking 6 points as well. A trio who desperately needed to qualify in the final qualifier and was able to pull out a top performance.
They've got a lot of pressure, I believe. Like you said, had all the pressure on them in that qualifier week, able to pull it off, but can they translate that to heats? Already picking up 3 eliminations here on their rotation as well.
And that's going to end up being huge for them. As you can see, the zone is moving over towards Lazy Lake, a southern zone, but right now, Buzzo, Ordep, and co. See a storm surge flashing on the right-hand side with still 88 players up. It's going to be a little dense, which is pretty much on par for what we've seen out of NA West, with a lot of trios opting to be a little bit more passive here.
Lazy Lake gonna be the spot to hang out this time around. We've got Caleb Wheels and Tao Tai heading up here, and they're above Storm Surge in a good amount. Typically, if you're about 130, 140 above in this first zone of Surge, you should be good going into the next zone. That's where you're going to need to get a little bit more damage, and then you can coast through all the way into those moving zones. As you see, a lot of different players, though, based up all around. We've got a team on the main building there, team just outside looking in. And Wheels, Caleb, and Tautai, as Wheels goes down to refarm up extra mats, refarm up anything that they can use, he's bringing him up as well. So they have a really good amount of excess resource pool to pull from in this game. So it'll be very interesting to see how they executed it exactly, especially with their positioning in zone. 183 damage above. They have the snipers. They have heals in their inventory as well. So overall, great positioning there from them. As we get another wide, we get to see Hav and company there. You finally get to see Oracle and their team on the backside, that Benji Fish building. Everyone's kind of coined it, as we have a fight kind of breaking down here. Kenshi, Snacky, and Chris looking for Stagger as he's trying to make something happen there. The tactical shotgun is not going to be in his favor, but he's below Surge. And now with 13 seconds, 12 seconds, every little moment counting down till that Surge comes on, he's got to find some sort of elimination. He gets the gas can in, actually doesn't want to get it all the way in, but the missed time throw of the gas can is going to mess up his plans just a little bit. So we will see exactly what he can do. Can he find it? EXE in this heat as well, getting some eliminations there in the feed. Batman Booga gonna pick up one there as well. Stagger is trying to run away, but when there's 116 damage below and when you're getting hit, you cannot run away. He's trying to find something, trying to use these materials, maybe deny them anything other than just the siphon mats, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. Unfortunately gonna fall, but there's still 5 more games to go, as Judd now gonna go down. Anthony, I think, gonna get sniped there, a little over aggressive, and now Kenji, Snacky, and Chris are trying to get into this team as well. I believe they actually took that elimination away for them, as that's a nice elimination there. They do pick up one. Can they find the other one? Actually, I think that one's gonna get taken away. No, it is on to Kenshi there. They are gonna find another couple of eliminations there. Anthony gonna go down as well, but they can't get into the boxes of these players.
Absolutely. You might be listening to a little bit of a new voice. Son that had to step away for just a second, but he'll be back shortly. It's gonna be me and Clay rocking the mic for this game, and it's in late, Clay. You've been breaking things down excellently. Storm Surge damage for this team completely up to standard. And across the map still, a lot of stories are starting here today for Heat 4. You know, statistically the hardest heat across many regions. So far today, that action's still ramping up.
Yeah, Joe with the nice beam hits every single shot that he needed to there, taking down that player. Kenshi they unfortunately gonna go down, so they started this box fight off, ended up picking up one of their players. They end up trading out Kenshi there, and unfortunately gonna fall, and Sidla gonna go down as well. Ruben gonna be the one to take him down. In a West, Shio being a little bit more aggressive this time around.
And it's so surprising to see Sidla go down this early, because honestly, when it comes to stats from the quals, these guys were the ones coming in on the top spot, right? The #1 team from one of the quals to qualify, and they should have been the ones to come out of the gates hot and heavy. But we'll see exactly who takes up the mantle for this game overall. So far, more of a Southern zoner watching as well. In NA West, everyone's still box to box, but there are some openings that Zalo's going for.
Looking for that heavy AR combo into that lever actions. Again, we talked about how it's not the best situational, but they have that epic SMG, so they're sitting perfectly. They're fine. They have those long range tags there. They're setting up for Storm Surge, middle of zone on a hill. That's textbook play there for them. As we see another couple trios down here, not in the best spot. Definitely have to go box to box to try to look for these Storm Surge tags, as Crimson and company do pick up Wreck there. There's one player remaining for the trios. And look, they get just pickings of loot to go through.
Lots of residual loot available, but Clay, just look at the way the map is breaking down so far. Usually in NA West, we see clustering. We see a lot of trios, you know, going for a specific spot on the map. Maybe it's a left, down, or right, but it looks pretty spread out so far. A little bit of that clustering happening towards Misty Meadows, but now everyone has to move over to the right. If you guys thought game 1 was going to be easy, if you thought, you know, the hype would die down from the reboot round, you were wrong, because now for NA West, the gears are starting to turn.
And if you got lucky and pulled that zone, everyone is going to be easy tags for you. You won't have to worry about Storm Surge coming in to half in, half out. You should have all available eyes looking in the west direction, because everybody is going to be coming in. I can comfortably saying more than half of the players need to rotate into the zone versus trying to recycle some of these old builds, even actually trying to find that player out. But he smartly goes back in, and now they realize, hey, if we rotate too late, we're gonna get taken out.
I love watching game 1s too. Everyone's kind of starting on that same slate of 0 points overall. So we're actually just looking for the lobby leader right now, right? As I said before, we thought it'd be Sidla coming straight through, but that's not the case. We'll see who steps up to the plate now. Looking at this rotation, it's going to be a hard one. good swimming to be used to make sure you're going up to speed and faster than everyone else, but people on the mountain are ready to beam down in NA West heat number 4. It's Batman Booga who's up top with Angel and Vlux. They're going to rotate all the way off with the bouncer, had one of the best positions on this side of the map. It's not going to pay off for now. They'll have to basically downgrade and even get down bad on shields. Batman Booga with a big shot towards the backside. He has the chunk splashes available and the big to pop back up, but that's almost all their shields, Clay.
And that's not what you want to use. Even just going in half and half out, you want to have at least something to work with, but going late, rotating just a little bit too against the pace, you will find that people come and tag you from behind all the time, especially if you're recycling these old rotates. People have already planned out. They're just waiting for someone to take it so they can get free tags onto you. And now a team basing up underneath them, they could look for tags onto them if they needed to. As you see, they don't. And they actually should be good with this amount of damage just to kind of coast into these in-game circles, not having to worry about storm surges. As I say that, someone gets a big sniper shot on the lobby and they instantly lose 100 damage.
And Ruben Fu goes down as well inside the feed. 56 people still alive, so for Surge 6 have to go down. You can sense the desperation between Revenant Angels, or just right below Revenant Angels builds. People still trying to knock through and knock in. Right now, Clay, the server is split in half. 2 big mountains and a valley in between. Usually we have a bridge to connect it. There is one there, but it looks like it might be a little bit too heavy to support, or too light to support too many trios walking on top of it. Someone's claimed it with a full metal base. I wonder where the zone will pull past it. It's way between the mountains. Everyone has to move. We're going down into the water.
Everyone except for that one trio that got so lucky and pulled it correctly. Quick stat for everyone: the game 1 winner has failed to finish top 8 in each of the first NA West heats. So, I mean, if you win this game, not saying that you may not qualify, but stats are not on your side.
Let's aim for second, maybe, hopefully, but I've seen NA West also defy statistics and do some of the greatest things we've seen across the world in Fortnite. So let's see what happens when RPG actually finding its way all the way down here. Caleb sees it coming and now just starts to elevate and go straight up. I think they had a game plan to go down low, but after that big boomstick revealed itself, they don't want anything to do with it.
And especially with these zones as well. If you go down low here and it pulls up, that is the highest point of elevation right there to the west on the map. If it pulls up there, you have nothing to really get up. There's only bouncers. There are some peppers in the season, but other than that, I haven't seen a single trio stacking 0-point fish. So there's not really a lot of options, as we do get to see who is posturing for high ground. I think it's only going to be a duo there. Got a good amount of teams down there low shot. If it pulls up, the numbers in this lobby are going to drop dramatically.
And let's just bring you up to stakes basically right now for the format. Top 3 is what everyone's trying to go towards. 17 or top 17 will be the number that starts handing out placement points. Each elim being 2 means every single time these guys land those perfect shots, no matter what range it is, they're getting points as well. It's not inside the top 17 so far just yet, so elims are basically what matters. We're just 2 trios away from going down to have that happen. Union is finding a way to make it even closer. Batman Booga, this man only had 5 builds available, makes things still work and gets snacky.
He does, and it's gonna go up the mountain as
No
well.
way.
So everyone has to move quickly, and that's why you see Morgan, Zeph, and Andros here trying to get up as soon as they can. Cooper gonna go down, and everybody is moving because they know we have to invest mats here, because if you don't, you are going down.
From Fortnite Battle Royale to Snakes and Ladders, we have basically switched games. Everyone's going up for now. They're hitting the right faces on the board. But what happens when you run into a different trio? That is the question. On the lights, on the left side, we see Cool going straight up. A bouncer actually working out a chain bouncer as well to go across. You see how many people are using that as well. Edu Mongo, though, has a big base all the way top side on the right side, and he's actually getting beamed while he's up there. Here's the snaky laddery part. While these late trios start rotating, if one of them makes a mistake, they fall all the way down the mountain.
And the problem with this is if you play high ground too close to all these players up, you're going to get ramped over. You're going to get shot down. This is one of the few times that your high ground has to be way higher than normal, just at the way the mountain is. But look, the team on high ground already lost a teammate on rotation, and they're below surge. It is going to turn off before it activates, so they don't have to worry about that. Zelho going to go down. Reppy's going to go down there to zone, and we'll see in 9 seconds where this zone goes up. If it keeps going up the mountain, they have a really great spot to just connect there.
Olaf goes down to the zone trying to get up the mountain. So many different trios did not make it past the filter. It's going up again.
they are going to be so lucky, but do they have the mats to maintain this? Right? They can have this high ground, but a duo on high is so hard to maintain if you don't have mats. He's got 42 builds, so maybe, but the numbers have already dropped so much. We're already in the top 8, Shio.
This is the ultimate test for every trio on low ground. This is one of the steepest mountains available on the Fortnite island. We're going straight wide past it as well. How does height handle this too, right? So much more difficult to get eliminations. You've seen how much the lobby's been thinned out so far. 7th zone, and we only have 7 trios.
And Caleb's trio is not looking that good. They are low on mats. If this goes off the mountain, they have to slide down and try to make something happen, but high ground is pressuring him. No mats playing second height. They're falling on down. They're trying to make chaos happen on the low ground, and that's exactly what it is. Caleb trying to find something. His teammate's going to go down. Tatai in the box of another player. Caleb is going to get in. Those shots are there. They get the eliminations. They get top 3. He even tries to go for a little cheeky res there. Maybe able to pull it off, but Kyle Poppins there in the game as well. Tatai will go down, and it's going back up a mountain yet again.
It's going back up, and Poppins has to be the one to push forward. Full trio still alive, 6 eliminations as well. Every single trio, all teams are still surviving to this point. They're not going down this yet. Caleb finds another elimination. Wheels also confirms it, so they're still high, mighty, and alive. High ground, though, is free.
It is, but his teammate just went down. I think it's a maybe a 2v1 right now. Yeah, it is. He is going to get dropped down there. X going to take a lot of damage. He only has 1 HP. Well, there, he cannot get the tick from zone, and Poppin's going to go up and get that nice, beautiful pop there on Reality Morgan. They overtake high ground. They ran out of mats, and they waited for that bouncer for the last perfect moment.
Poppins with a floaty play, no umbrella needed, though, just a bouncer. That was absolutely beautiful, and honestly, the craziest zone I think we've seen in this season so far.
You know, the other day we had a steamy stack zone, but that one takes the cake, right? We're all up north. Now we're all down south at Mount K, the highest mountain, and it pulls all the way up. And you can't really practice for that. That's very, very rare.
No, absolutely. That was just a tough zone left and right. You're having to fight trails the whole time too. It went completely vertical up at some point as well. We'll have to go and throw it back to the analyst desk, which I may or may not be part of, to see exactly what goes down.
Oh my gosh, he's here. Sorry about that, everybody. Sundown is an official business handling Susie, the official mascot of the FNCS. So he will return shortly. All right. Wow. What a first game from NA West. Now, we had to jump right into the action because off the heels of that reboot round, these games had already kicked off. So now we're going to pretend that we're starting over. So we're going to get to say hi. How's it going? Fortnite fam, it's great to see you look great today. You look hydrated. That's dope. Yeah, these are our friends. It's Shy Wager. It's Kelly. Friends, how you guys feeling?
Good. It feels like I kind of really casted that last game, literally speaking. At the same time, these guys over that mountain, I thought the reboot round was insane, but that I feel like was on a different level as well.
I mean, speaking about one level, it was down many different levels. In fact, having to climb all the way up through the weather station right there. But what a beautiful bouncer play, Shayu. You got to see it right there. Although it looked like they were pretty confident going into it. That was just all they needed to take height and get the victory royale for game number 1.
Absolutely. For Matt as well, 6 games we'll be watching overall in this final heat. Yes, the rounds have ended for qualifiers. Now we're in the semifinals. In the semifinals, the top 8 have to move through. We've seen it happen in many regions before. Now, finally, it's here. The last race in NA West. We'll see who gets the top 8. If you don't make it through, though, it's 9 to 16 for the reboot round. We've seen that round play out multiple times across the world as well. The winner of that match gets pushed through to those those finals that are played over 2 days. We'll have an FNCS champion after that. And Zeke knows they'll get that the Axe of Champions, actually, which is so good, made of pure gold. But to play a format, you need some points as well, Kelly. That is the most important.
You do need points indeed, and you guys saw it already at the round 4 qualifiers. It's the same point system for that. 2 points per eliminations. Eliminations are going to be very important as we go through the semifinals here. And you can see first, second, and third place, there is quite an amount of separation from those points with placement. So if you're going to make it to end game, 4th place only really gets you that much farther than everyone else. You have to try and make it to the top 3 because that's really where you're going to start seeing yourself pull forward ahead of the rest of the teams.
Absolutely. And all of this moves us one step closer to the finals. There is prize money, there's notoriety, there's glory, basking in the sun, and being able to hold the axe of champions high on top of that mountain so everyone else around you knows that your trio is the FNCS champions. There's so much at stake here for these trios, and a lot of incredible things. And speaking of incredible, there's something going on with the 0 points. Someone else has come through. Whether he's micro-sized or mega-sized, Ant-Man has always been ready to help save the day. Sized appropriately for Battle Royale, he's the latest Marvel superhero to join the hunt. Designed by scientist Hank Pym, size up your opponents wearing the iconic Ant-Man suit, available right now in the item shop. Now, the item shop also features the toothpick pickaxe and Ant-Man's trusty steed, Antonio, I said that correctly, who will have your back, or at least be your back bling. So make sure you guys check him out before he shrinks from the shop? Question mark? Well, you will figure it out. Anyway, Ant-Man's in the game, friends. That's a real thing. Now, let's go ahead and shift attention back toward N8 West. We know that we're tuning into heat number 4 on the day, and heat number 3 has already concluded. We can see here your overall winners, Joker, Robin, and Chicken. Man, that does sound pretty tasty right now.
Absolutely, and the way they got first place was scrumptious as well. 2 total wins, a 13th back-to-back as well. Average placement of 13th was just so nice overall. 124 points, being that consistent, getting those elims almost every game, edges them forward by 1 point, Kelly.
It's pretty interesting because, I mean, from what we've seen before, they're actually the least consistent team that we've had in first place. They got 2 victory royales, but then beyond that, they never placed below or above 13th. So here, you know, we like to say a victory royale doesn't really make a difference, but 2 victory royales will definitely make a difference, and that's why we are seeing it up in first place. Of course, you have to give a shout out to teams like Spidey and Blizzy and Nate in second place, Falconer, Caden Knox, and Turtle Tavern in third place. And here you have it. It's going to be Mojo Solution and Clerics Jack Veer in 8th place, 100 points, only 7 points separated 8th from 9th place.
That 100-point threshold, that is more than likely going to be our target for today's games. Now, of course, we got to talk predictions. Sundown kicked us off. We've got Fu, Buzzo, and Order, or Dep. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Kelly, you had Wade, Cool, and Cooper?
Yeah.
I like that they had the exclamation points. That's why I said it like that.
I'm already laughing because the first team to get a victory royale is Shio's pick again. And I don't know why you guys are giving him the script ahead of time. I don't think that's very fair for the rest of us that have to make these predictions. But Shio, what is it about this team that made you give them the victory royale?
Listen, when it comes to, you know, XC Poppins and Poppins, one of these guys obviously named Trashy, I can't keep up with all the name changes, 24/7. Kelly, me and you have seen it across many months at DreamHack. They're really good synergies between this team, duos, and just overall over time. I felt like that synergy would be out today in the heats. And these glasses also have the script in invisible ink written on the other side. So one of those things is definitely true. One might be false, but amalgamation of all that is why I made that pick.
I'm happy to see that they're back at Steamy Stacks as well. We saw them move over to Dirty Docks the second week, and it didn't really work out for them too well. So to see them come back into Steamy Stacks, I definitely worked out for them in this game because they got to Victory Royale.
We got to take a look at the standings. We got to see that number 1 team. Is it them? Was the victory enough to have that initial lead going into the following games? Your answer? Yes. Now, here's the thing. They got the victory out and paired it with eliminations. You have to balance these 2 things, right, Shy?
Yes, and especially you have to be dynamic because you never know what the game will throw at you. I feel like this team is the most malleable in every situation. Those zones, them being at low ground in the final, you know, 2v2 and being able to use a bouncer play, that's huge. But they have a bunch of other teams who are slated to also be top winners, like Caleb's, like Batman Bugas, who also had a really good game in game number 1.
Yeah, but, you know, I kind of want to take a look at some of the names that we're not used to seeing in our top leaderboard. In second place, it was Zeph, Morgan, and Antris that did a really good job. 6 eliminations, second place, as well as Jackal, Javier, and Kripus jumping up into 4th place. In fact, these are kind of the bigger names here that we're seeing on our second page 6th through 10th.
Yeah, it was kind of an irregular game one. You know, we saw Edumongo actually have that high ground from 5th zone all the way to 7th with the mountain. You can do a lot with it. It's about getting as many points as you can, milking that beneficial situation when you have it available to you in these end games. So they definitely did that. Kenshi will try, you know, get back in all these, you know, top 10 to 20 teams. Will try to get back in. Maybe we don't see a mountain next game. Maybe it's a normal desert zone, but you never know. If it happens again, whoever has height has to go for it all.
A lot of these trios battling it out. They all have one thing on their mind: top 8 placement. That will guarantee us a ticket to finals next week. If we can make it into 9th through 16th, maybe we can just pull off what Saf, Zay, and Stretch just did. Take it to the reboot round and say, you know what? That's where we are going to shine. But
Could you?
we'll talk about this more over the remaining games, because right now we're going into game number 2 of NA West. Casters, back your way.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Kelly, and happy to be back here for match number 2, joined by Clay. Match number 1 going over to the Poppins in EXE crew representing TRNL. And honestly, it was a solid performance there, but one thing I want to note too is looking from that 1st to 8th spot, it seems like that was a little bit of a kind of higher density point spread for that top 8, with 8th being 19 points right now. So it's generally been a little bit higher than average we've seen after the first game. So something to keep an eye on as we get a good look at map number 2 here.
And you know, I mean, we called it out last game. There was a quick stat that came in. The team that won the first game and every one of NA West heats did not make it into the top 8. So Shio may have the script, but I think there was a director's edit right at the end sundown.
Yeah, but he's looking to try and flip the script here, and what a better team to do it here than Kyle Poppins, aka Epic Walrus, TRNLXE, and then TRNL Poppins, aka Trashy, some names we've seen before over here on NA West, landing over at Dirty Docks, a place that's really been solid throughout the course of the season. The access to metal, the NPC availability over here for upgrades and easy quests, I mean, it's generally proven to be strong if trios can get it uncontested, but even then, between a split, it's not awful.
No, it's not. And even if you are able to get it contested, it provides you even more resources. That is, if you can guarantee the fact that you can end the fight quickly. And we know at this high caliber of play, it's going to be very, very hard for you to end these fights quickly. So it is better, obviously, to be uncontested. But, you know, people change up drop spots all the time. They swap. It happens. We've seen it before. But moving over to a team that could potentially contest the Hydro 16 team is Yoris, Timmy, and Lewis. And they're right there. And I think last game they actually ended up landing at Hydro 16, and the team below SWAT with them up here. So not able to get it this time around. That RPG not going to be a factor for them. So maybe part of their game plan to push down, look for those tags, and they're able to get a sniper shot. Maybe they convert on elimination.
Which is what it's all about early game, just trying to throw out whatever opportunities you can. And they've actually already been able to pick up 3 eliminations here. I was trying to look at where they were coming into this game. They had 15 points, but already 6 on the board from being able to clean up another team around the dam spot. So looks like now they're just going to head over, try and hit these super high value fishing spots. Again, the shield fish that are in there, as well as the floppers and the slurp fish, playing a huge role in terms of being able to kind of perpetuate yourself into the mid game. And then additionally, the weapon pool that is in those fishing spots is not insignificant either. You can pull out some really high value weaponry in there.
You can. I think it's almost always guaranteed above that blue rare level there. And so any time that you can pull something out of a fishing spot, it's going to be good. Even if you're able to pull a pistol, you can go for that upgrade. We've seen teams rock it this time around. This time we're over to Slurpy Swamp, however. High Wall and company are in the box. Coach Chad trying to make a play with his team, and they boxed out that perfectly. They were hip to hip, but High Wall is down to 20 HP. His team getting tagged up as well. Divine gonna go down. I think that's a GG well played. They clean it on up, getting 2 eliminations. Unfortunately, one of them seems to be taken away for them. Maybe someone else got a little sniper shot, a third-party tag on their way in, but still 2 eliminations going to be so good for them, and they can afford to take this fight because they're at Slurpy Swamp.
Yeah, and SLCT Coach Chad being a real Chad right there, diving into the box, picking up those 2 trades out there. And I don't want to see bailing his teammate out in a bad situation, but definitely optimal in terms of picking that up. They're not wasting time and being able to loot around, because we've seen a number of teams lurking around. And speaking of lurking around, Vinny trying to get a little bit of skirmishing tactic here, taking a real long angle around this team. And this is some old school battle royale tactics. This is Nick Merckx taking the high ground right now. He's literally crouch walking up here and just sneaking quietly behind them. However, if they're not firing, these crouch steps still do make a sound. It's quieter, but it's different from the other ones. And now he's going to commit and go up on the high ground. As you see, Cypher on the other side decide to go up as well. And Vinny up right away. And hello, is anybody home? 4 shots directly in the back, breaking the shield and gonna press down. Cypher, Hov, and Vinny trying to take advantage here. Can they close out the fight? And that is a huge elimination right away, straight into the box. And the other two are going to be forced away.
And NA West has been ambush after ambush after ambush. As Vinny's gonna have someone in the box, he will convert on that elimination there, picking up Euro. Now only one player remains. Fatal trying to hide out in the weather station, hold a right-handed peek. They weren't actually able to get the shakedown there onto that player, so a quick elimination and a confirmation on that will not net them this player's whereabouts, but they're gonna find him eventually. They know he's down here. They know he's got to be somewhere in this building. He didn't just run away. So it's only a matter of time before Vinny and company get in here. And they're even going to use a gas can just to blow up this building. Put a little bit more pressure on Fatal hiding in. And they're just going to start to shoot it down, because that gas can will leave everything one hit. And, of course, it'll start to diminish the builds as well.
Yeah, it's going to break those down. He's going to end up being exposed here, though. We'll put a little bit of knock on Vinny. He's been around the scene for a while. Should know to at least have gotten the shakedown. Plus the sniper headshot conversion there, especially given just how kind of passive NA West has been in terms of Storm Surge. They will be able to clean that up, but a little bit of excess damage taken. They should have enough resources to kind of take that one up, but also taking over from the fire damage. So not necessarily the cleanest of fight resolutions, but they'll take the 6 points, they'll take the Storm Surge damage, and they'll move on to the mid game. So we're going to move on to another trio.
We'll see what Jackal and company can do. 25 points out of that first game is a great start for them. Can they keep this momentum going for their trio as well? Set up in a good spot. They did take a lot of tags on rotation. They do have chug splashes though, so it's not going to be an issue healing that back up. In a great spot as well. They've got great positioning to look back on anybody trying to rotate in ahead of them and behind them as well. Nice double tag there by Jackal with the AR. Will net him 62 Storm Surge damage onto a team trying to rotate out. We saw them have a hard time before. I don't believe Christian and company got that many points in that first game, so definitely looking to turn their game around. The Gorgeous Gorge is a very hard place to rotate through, especially because Jackal and them are landing at Hunter's Haven.
Yeah, especially with the Hunter's Haven in there now, there's generally a team who's scoped out that entire area, and then the rapid change in verticality, we've talked about it so many times, whether it was the Sentinel's graveyard or the old 3 chests that used to spawn over there. There's been so many endgames that have happened over here, and that rapid change in verticality, the way the zones can move back and forth, just cause so many kind of predictable rotations. They limit the number of paths you're able to end up taking, and it causes different types of movement than trios are generally used to seeing. So if you haven't had the opportunity to kind of be in that super cavernous area and be in a really hectic endgame when literally everything is on the line here in the FNCS semifinals, like, it is a completely different experience. But now we're going to swing back on board to Risky Reels. You have Tautai, Caleb, and Wheels up on the high ground, just trying to flex a little bit of their influence on the trio underneath.
And once again, West, the top teams like to position really early on in the middle of this earlier. They do like to kind of congregate around one area, leaving that area open on the other side of the zone, like we saw where the zone ended up pulling away from everybody. So if that trend sets again, there's going to be a spot in the zone where there's not going to be that many people. And if zone pulls there again, a lot of these trios that have set up on this side of zone, whether it be the west, the east, the south, or the north side, we're going to have hard times rotating through. Caleb, Tautai, and Wheels, though, I'm very worried about. They have great positioning, but look at Caleb's inventory. He has no minis. Tautai, only 15 bandages. For their heals, they're shambles.
In shambles, and we've seen just how valuable those heals are. One, for making it kind of into the endgame situation in case there is a heal off. But as we've seen in so many of the reboot rounds, teams end up prepping for the heal offs. And this is not the reboot round, just to remind everyone, we are in Q4 still. But if you don't have an opportunity to use those white heals, they don't end up mattering. You still need to put yourself in a positive situation for when the trio ends up being together. So they're fine for now, but it limits the amount of options they have available. You're going to be a little bit more cautious when potentially trying to take a fight. Luckily, they were well above Storm Surge. However, Jackal, Kripos, and Javier only 83 above Storm Surge with 14 players who still need to go down. And that will turn on here in 50 seconds. So expect a ton of action in the near future.
In game one, because of the way the zone position was going to be a lot less stacked than this game right now, because there's not that many mountains in this zone that you have to worry about. This is one of them right here. There's a mountain, if you want to call the Coliseum a mountain, because you can't go through it. You have to go up it or around it. And so we've seen a lot of these zones in NA West, especially yesterday, a lot of Coliseum zones. Black and company below Surge, they're going to grab a Firefly just to try to put pressure on this team because they were built out of wood for a little bit, but Black unfortunately going to throw it as his own teammates build. So they need damage and they need it quickly. They have to hop onto this team and have to get into these boxes, because if they don't, we're going to see similar situations to what we saw yesterday. People going down way earlier than they would have wanted to because they didn't have a Storm Surge plan. Black going to take a lot of damage though, down to 19 HP. He's got minis to pop, but pressure from a third party is going to come through. Chug Splashers are there. Can they hold for the time being? Yes, Lack may be able to get the minis off, but they still have to go in. The Storm Surge is going to be active. There's the audio cue. There's the visual cue for everybody as well. And now it's going to start ticking.
That Storm Surge, 25 damage every 5 seconds, so you can pop a mini to try and outlast it, but it's not going anywhere. It will hit the trios that have done the least amount of damage across the board. So you can see Costly making this costly play of burning through all the utilities. Lack going down there. Cleric School not long for this match either, as Costly also going to be taken down, but still 11 players need to end up dropping. So you're going to be seeing these desperate skirmishes happening all over the map as another team trying to close the gap, hearing all the fights. We're going to swing over to another side as two teams wall to wall with each other. Batman Booga, Angel, and Vlux currently well above Storm Surge, but dealing with a little bit of pressure as we actually see the Poppins Co. going down there in the elimination feed. So Zape loves Sundown. Hey Zape, I love you too, buddy. Picking up an elimination there and taking down our match number 1 winner, Exy, following right after that. And they're about to be cleaned up there, as still 2 more players will need to go down. A good angle coming out from Batman Booga, but he's going to be traded right back out. So nobody really getting the benefit of this except those Storm Surge tags, which only one of the teams really needs. But Vlux with a monstrous shot there, just leaping into the charged shotgun, saying, don't worry, I got the lever, winning that trade. And they're going to pick up 2 eliminations from that and really come out the better as Storm Surge finally turns off.
And with an epic charged shotgun as well. That thing does so much damage. The confidence from Vlux, unwavering there. They got Moni as well. So now only Salvo remaining in the zone, trying to put some pressure back as he is stuck there. It is a 2-tick already. He's going to have to try to wait for them to rotate in, maybe go to the north. And no, that's going to be Salvo ticking over. They pick up the whole trio on elimination. So the Storm Surge plan there for Moni, Salvo, and Pierre, just not there this time around.
And it's tough, and we've talked about it, particularly in NA West yesterday. It's been one of the more passive regions. It has the most players that end up falling to Storm Surge out of the regions that we watch on broadcast. So you need to anticipate that even if you aren't under pressure, somebody else is going to go. Somebody else is going to be looking there. There's 14 players there who are under the threat. That means 5 trios have to go fight. They have to be throwing bullets or be utilizing their utility. As you can see here, the Poppins Co. actually able to get back up on their feet and trying to not necessarily float away, but sand tunnel back into zone, using that boosted movement speed to just barely avoid the 2-tick. So avoiding disaster there on the other side in terms of being knocked out way before placement point with no eliminations, and potentially following that curse that you talked about where the first place team in NA West then no longer goes on to make the top 8. So they need to be a little bit cautious because they're not in a great shot and now under fire from 2 different angles right away.
And one of my favorite name players is in the game, Guacamole Man, has an angle on them as well. So it'll be interesting to watch and see how they get out of this one. Back over, we get to see Caleb, Tao Tai, and Wheels. Again, they have not yet had to move since their positioning here in the second zone. The zone has been very grateful for them, but that comes with so many disadvantages. Not getting as much Storm Surge tags. They were above it They still may be above it as well with the amount of snipers in their inventory, but they don't have shields. They do not have heals in their inventory. So they are going to have to find an impact elimination sometime between the 5th and 6th zone to try to get their game back in their favor. They can make it to 2, 6, 7th, and 8th zones and still be healthy, but if once it gets there, it's going to be a lot less predictable for this trio. And if they get separated just a little bit, they're going to go down.
Which is why we've stressed so much the tight rotation, staying hip to hip, fighting together. It's crucial during the heats. It's crucial during the reboot rounds. It's one of the best ways to improve. If you're just trying to get better at Fortnite as a trio, work with your teammates, just pretend there's a string between you guys. And at one point, if one person get pulled, the other two better be coming with them, because as long as you're together, you can at least have a chance in most circumstances. It's really hard to dive on in and execute. As we see that format on the left-hand side, we'll remind you, each elimination, 2 points. First placement points begin ticking over as we hit the top 17. That's our top 50% of trios. 1 point for each trio dropping there. And then the big placements, the ones we talk about all the time in that top 3, +6 for top 3, +5 for top 2. Then the Victory Royale being another top 5 for 16 total placement points available there in the top 3. So that's the big threshold. That's the one where you're really going to celebrate if you can push just over there. But of course, the Victory Royale is what it's all about for these guys. And right now, hopping back on board here with our Match 1 Victory Royale winners. And as you talked about, them getting knocked early, they're fine with the first Storm Surge. Right now, 114 below, and this is going to start ticking here in 15 seconds.
And their teammates got tagged for white HP, and once you do, there's an audio cue to everyone around. They know you have no shield, so they're going to keep pressuring with you. And so 3 seconds left. They've got to get in. Kyle Poppins, a.k.a. Epic Warriors, is trying to get in with that SMG, trying to put the pressure down because he's got so much ammo. But this team they're going on to knows, hey, we just got to back up just a little bit, and they're going to start getting hit. There you go. Now, his team just going to go down. Poppins and EXE trying to get in. They're all going in, and just like that, they all got eliminated.
And that's the issue. You got knocked early, awesome. You get the reboots, but then you have no excess shields because you apply as many as is possible. Then you're underneath Storm Surge. You go for the box dive. It doesn't matter how good you are. #1 team from game #1 dropped right away. Victims to Storm Surge and unable to make the plays they need. So we're going to swing back on board here. IGL, Pars, ZH22 Inferno, and Guacamole Man up on the high ground. However, that 50-50 zone pulled way far away from them. So it's going to be a tough rotation. And currently, they're pathing around that right-hand side, trying to move along the northern edge of the zone, and hopefully not going to take too many shots. Guacamole Man catches a couple. They see the bouncer on the angle, so they know another team is already working on this angle and immediately begin taking shots as they drop down the tarp as we pan out and check the rotations.
Man, Guacamole Man is going to go down there. Unfortunate rotation from them. They didn't really have a lot to work with, and so they just had to go. Now over to Tripass and company. They are getting tagged by Surge currently.
Still below.
As you see, 42 below. Shots come through. He does get that, but it was only 8 damage. That player had no HP. He's got to find something. One tag will do it. If he's able to find any sort of tags, a harpoon tag even, a shotgun tag, there's elimination. He gets a double tag. It turns off. That'll survive him for now. That player actually going to go down in front of him. 13 HP. He's got mats to survive this, but he doesn't have the HP. He doesn't have shields in the inventory. This team is just going to keep pressuring, and one little jump over the top is going to take him out.
That feels awful. You're like, yes, I finally got an elim. Wait, no, why did Storm Surge not turn off? Well, the guy you eliminated had 8 HP. Sorry, friend. You hit him with a singular tactical shotgun pellet there, but ultimately will be taken down in just before those placement points tick over. So now hopping on board here with Wheels, Tautai, and Caleb. TRNL and Extra representing. We have 45 players remaining, 18 trios left, so one more will need to go down as we're into the late game, the full moving zone, zone 6 through 9. They go outside of the safe zone, making you burn utility and run back and forth the entire time. And right now, Wheels and Co., yeah, they need to rotate, but they need to be aware. Check above the map. They're below that Storm Surge threshold again. Need to find at least 61 damage with 14 players having to fall.
Ooh, and Wheels was almost able to get it there. That player had the wall not in their favor, but not able to grab it over. Wheels and Tautai, these 2 eliminations are great for them. They're not even in placement points yet, though. One more trio needs to go down. Wreck is going to get knocked. Buzzrow is going to get knocked there as well, but Wheels and Tautai are getting built upon. They're getting cut off. They have to find something 135 damage below. They cannot afford. Taltai going to go down, is going to get caught. And now Wheels with just wood builds remaining is getting sprayed at. He has to try to drop down, try to separate from them, but he drops in an unfavorable location. Can't actually go any lower. He is on ultimate low, and Surge is going to activate. Shields are there on that player. He gets a lot of damage, but it's still not enough. He's got the Siphon to keep him going, but can he find more damage? He's got to get into boxes. He doesn't have any match ability. He has to hop in. If he doesn't, he's just going to tick on over. There's one. He's got maybe two more, and it turns off. A gift from the Storm Surge gods.
It turns off there. You can see the top left corner, 28 players remaining. He's trying to get in the sand, but the ambush from Zadie, the special ops on the low ground, says, not today. I caught you sneaking in there. Rips him out from the ground. That's Realty Morgan sitting on 3 eliminations right now, anchoring for his team. As you can see, Edmongo has already gone down. Zeph, they're separated right now. And Morgan with no builds, just trying to find a little bit of space. Also has some Fireflies, so potentially a little bit of disruption here in the late game, but he needs to find a tarp. He needs to find a lair. He has the 0-point crystals as well, so could potentially phase in, but it looks like his teammate was able to get back to him. Yep, him and Zeph now hip to hip together as we move into the end game. And I would say the team who has high ground control is in a good spot, but there is no high ground control. Everyone's basically on the same 3 layers as we have our top 10 trios now. We hop back on board here with Zeph and Morgan tunneling through the low ground.
They're trying to find something. There's Matt's right in front of Zeph. Morgan is going to go down. Can Zeph, with this epic charge shotgun, make a play happen? There's a team right in front of him, a team above him as well. Uses the last little bit of his match to change layers. Fireflies or Dragon's Breath shotgun were thrown. He is going to get tagged up. No builds remaining. He's got the edit. He drops down. He doesn't have the angle. He's going to have to go through that door that he edited earlier. Decaying is going to go down. He's got time to pop a mini. No builds remaining. He only has 2 ticks in zone. He's trying to play as close to the edge as possible. He's going to find elimination there under Cool. Siphon match will come through and it pulls back. He gets gifted a lot there. 15 matches so big, especially with the zone going back. He can go right through just where he tarped. There's a team down below he's got to be careful about. Dylan going to go down there to Jeffers. Zeph, 2 eliminations. He is full HP right now, essentially. He's got a lot to work with. Quinn, Dylan, Cypher, all going to go down as well. Zeph is just trying to rack up the placement points right now. Juicy going to go down as well. One more placement will shoot him up so many points. This is a great game, a great clutch for them, and he's going to pop a medkit. He has to get it off before it hits 6 seconds. I think he's going to. No! There's going to be a team down below. The edit is there. Is he going to find anything? It's a whole trio, and I think, unfortunately, he's going to go down.
That was such a good play there from Jeffers and his trio, hearing the med kit queue and going and interrupting it, securing the top 3 now, but can they close it out in the low ground? Already racking up 9 eliminations between them. However, Union Fu going to go down. It's going to be on Jeffers and Dardis to close it out. And normally we talk about high ground control, but again, just now finally breaking distance on the layer is Buzzo, who's going up. You can see there is a med kit there. They have the distance, but all of a sudden, flank comes out of nowhere, but Dardis gets put down, no problem. So it's going to be Zeppers in a 1v3 going up against my prediction. Week 3 qualifiers coming out. Ruben Fu and his trio up on the high ground. You already saw the medkit come out. Can Jeffers pull off a miracle? He's not gonna get it as Buzzo and Ordeps cut them down in a brilliant performance with 11 eliminations and the victory royale coming out there.
And they even had the heal off secured just in case something crazy happened on the low ground. They put that safety net up and didn't even need it in the end, but a great game from Jeffers as well on the low ground. That med kit almost going off for Zeph and company. There was so much happening that game.
But it's one of the few times where we haven't seen a very definitive high ground control riding out the end game, and I really want to see what Zeke, Shio, and Kelly have to say about that match. Desk?
All right, okay, here's what we think. Shy Wager, what are your thoughts?
Nice, see, good dodge. I like it a lot. For me personally, looking at that game, still really impressed by Edumongo just being able to make another end game still after the fact. We're looking at, you know, that team not being the most consistent and hitting all the way up top. Cool win at the end too with the 3-1 drop down as well from the winning team. But Kelly, I'll pass it over to you. Impressions over from that game?
I mean, I think it's something that really the Sundown was just saying, that this was really the first time that we haven't seen Height just definitively have the entire game there. And I think that's actually a good sign that maybe we're starting to see teams learn strategies that Height isn't what you need necessarily, and that you could win the low ground and the mid ground, which to be fair is something that we've actually been seeing throughout the last few weeks. But something that we're going to need to see right now. contested or uncontested, it definitely makes a difference where you're going and how you're going to be able to play out the rest of the game. And looking at this team right now, Shayo, do you think that they were contested or uncontested on drop?
Well, looking at their loot overall, I feel like it might not have been contested, but I am incorrect. They were indeed fighting another team off of spawn. These guys obviously wrecking over from Retail Row, looking at two very good placements back to back as well, always being in the best position overall. Retail's also very close to the south. Now for Batman Booga's team, tough rotation in that first game. I'm looking at whether these guys were contested or uncontested either. Kelly, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to say, looking at the loadout right now, that this team is going to be uncontested. I think that they had some issues at the start. That means that maybe they weren't able to grab some good tags for that Storm Surge. And you know that actually getting into a contested spot means that you're able to grab those Storm Surge. Oh, but no, I was wrong.
It's the
you
same
were right.
spots.
What?
That's the exact same spot that these guys went to as well. It's actually crazy when I was looking back at it, prepping stuff up. The two teams that made the end game in game number one, both from the same POI. But past that as well, a final team that we're looking at that did pretty well in that first game. Exactly, it was Tender, Conrad, and Silver. They had a good vibe coming straight in. Were they contested or uncontested though? It's always a question to ask. You know, Kelly, thoughts? No.
You know what? The last two have been contested. They were contested as well, especially over in Steamy Stacks. We saw a lot of teams going over to Steamy Stacks during the qualifiers, and there you have it. They as well were contested. But as we've seen in this, contested doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a rough start. You're able to grab those Storm Surge tags. You're able to grab even some good loot if you are able to take down the other team. But that 50-50 is a risky game.
Yeah, that's kind of the lesson of the whole thing, right? They're kind of changing all these teams, the perception of what contested versus uncontested means for these end games. Ruben Fu will see exactly how they look like in terms of contested and uncontested in these next games. 100% excited to see them off of spawn, but still that story starts early and then ends all the way towards that victory royale.
And sometimes we see the original team kind of get those victory round moments, but they can't translate that into later games, right? So hoping that's not the case, because I want to see this trio continue like you're saying. Let's take a look at the standings. That was game number 2 of NA West. We can see here Ruben Fu, Buzzo, Ordep, they're holding down that number 1 spot. But guys, look how close this still is.
You guys smell that? It's kind of a breath of fresh air to not have a completely dominant trio in a region in Heat 4 for the first time. We might have some very close combat here on the leaderboard, Kelly.
No, this is what you'll love to see. It's a bunch of teams that don't really ever get their time to shine, and now in Heat 4, they are proving that they deserve to be in the finals next week. We got Ruben Fu up there, of course, with that victory royale and 11 eliminations going up against Dardis's and Jeffers' team. It was close, but it was them that came out on top, showing that it isn't necessarily the team that has height, but having a full team on the ground was what allowed them to grab those 11 eliminations, which is 22 points.
Yeah, and someone must have hit that crush ice button on the blender, because definitely the standings so far have been shaken up. Kenshi from 11th all the way to 6th. We have Batman Booga's dropping from the first space now down to the second. It's getting volatile, which is amazing to watch. That first place team as well, former console players that are winning that game overall. The Mexican console trio as well, so cool to see them actually popping off. Yeah, that same pattern, I think, rise up in EU as well for teams rolling in. But still, we saw one 11th place trio jump over towards the top 10. Now, Kelly, there's definitely a chance for anyone on these two pages to have a good game and bounce up. The points are just basically 40 or 50 they need to reach.
Yeah, honestly, everyone from first all the way down to 23rd has done a pretty decent job making sure that they at least grab a few eliminations. Placing themselves 17th or above will get you just a few points, but we still got 4 games left, Shio. Any one of these teams here can easily get a victory royale with 10 eliminations, and that's going to get them 50 points, which is going to shoot them all the way up into our top 8, and that's where these teams want to be. 8 teams are going to be moving forward to the semifinals. Of course, 9th through 16th place, they have the Reboot Round, and we just saw the Reboot Round from North American East be absolutely insane. I think that we saw 12 chug splashes as well as 1,000 cabbages at the end game there.
1,000.
Regardless of how many there are, the one player I want to see more out of, 24th right now, is Zapelov Sundown. Very creative name. I want to see how far he goes. Hopefully not in the Reboot Round because he's qualing, but if he gets in there, maybe he pops off too.
Well, 90 points was the target in NA East Heat 3. That was a mind mess there. So we'll have to see if these guys can pull off the same. But for now, we're going into the next game. Casters, over to you.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Kelly. And we're coming up to the halfway point. 2 matches down. Match 3 here. Llama, not 210, but just under that gorgeous, gorgeous bridge where all of those nice boats are. Come on down the Butter Barn. You might find a Llama as well. And the zone's pulling directly that way with the Llama almost dead in the center.
A lot of loot all around. It's kind of spread out. We've got more contention happening at Simi Stacks. I believe Salty Towers was contested there as well. And there's someone dropping the Cami Split once again. Everyone has their drop spots set out. How can they operate? Because this is as central of a map zone that you can get. Pretty much every major POI is inside of it as well. So everyone's got a good shot, and making it here into this end game is going to take a look at Buzzo and company and how they ended up getting that victory royale. Again, 3 eliminations already off spawn.
This is the 3rd straight game. I'd love to know who they're fighting right off of the rip, because they're just waxing them. Like, every single time, we don't even have time for the observers to get through the beauty shots right off of the start, but they have literally, we've tuned in and it's like, oh, they have 3 elims. In the first game, I was like, oh, that's a pretty good start. The last game, I'm like, oh, well, again, yeah, that was pretty good. And we literally just tuned straight into them. Only 1 team has been dropped. 4 players are down, and 3 of them at the hands of this trio, who we saw, again, we talked about it. There were 2 trios in NA West going into qualifier number 3 who had to place in the top in order to make it here into the heats themselves. This was one of them, and they put up a brilliant performance. That's what earned them my prediction today. And honestly, I gotta put a little sauce on Chayo. I can't let him run away with it. And right now, this is my team who I think is gonna take the #1 spot here today.
And they're looking really good. Again, the stats do not lie. That first place curse, if you will, may have impacted them. Maybe they're able to come back. Of course, we will keep a close eye on everything, but a contested Salty Towers is very hard to do well from, but it's essentially uncontested for them because they eliminated that team so quickly. They're able to just run around, loot as much as they want, and you see the amount of shields, the amount of loot they're actually getting from this POI is absolutely insane.
Can see there, left-hand side, Ruben Fu, Ordeps, Buzzo, all from the console FNCS track, which gone this side, but all finished the top 10 last FNCS trios, and now putting up a really solid performance here on NA West. We've seen a number of those players kind of making their way back over, still having really solid performance. We saw Nut and 2XC have a solid job yesterday over on NA East. There was a team out of Brazil, 3 full console players who actually ended up making it all the way through to the grand finals as well, finishing 4th in heat number 3. So just a number of players able to step up their game a little bit here.
And it shows that everyone can perform no matter the platform you came from, what you're playing on now. You can do really well on it. As we get to move over to Zape, we'll see how much he loves Sundown and if he's going to be able to clutch this one up for him.
Yeah, if he snipes somebody in the face here, then I definitely love him because that would be incredibly hype, but definitely want to see a little bit more out of him in terms of only the 10 points so far in the first 2 games. Not necessarily in a bad spot. We saw them sparring off early during the first Storm Surge contestation last game, and right now stuck in a little bit of a fight here over just outside Camp Cod. You can see, tried to sneak the sniper shot in there, but unfortunately taking a little bit too much chip from that heavy AR damage up top and no excess shields now, so it's going to be a little bit of a tough situation. Oh, there's another trio coming in. Look in the bottom right, Clay.
There is. He went for the snipe, and that may have bought them some time now that they know not to overpeak on the high ground, and this could be what they needed. If they're able to get this trio to fight the team around them, they can slip out through the bottom and go towards Rainbow Rentals and get out and swim north. They have an opportunity, and Sundown, there's another trio coming in as well. This is the 4th party coming in from the north.
It's a party. It's a party. Everybody coming in. You've heard of the 3rd party, but have you heard of the legendary tale of the 4th party? It's much like second breakfast coming through, but right now everyone's trying to eat, and all of a sudden from the defensive situation, you see the teams trying to disengage because they want absolutely nothing to do with this situation, as the zone, we saw where the first zone is, it's the southern side, it's nowhere near, but everybody is sprinting towards the southwest corner, just trying to get the early eliminations, trying to get whatever Storm Surge tags they can, and this is completely abnormal. You never see a 4-person fight, especially a 4-person fight that so far has resolved in nobody going down. Everybody is just running away from each other and disengaging, and it looks like so far they've made it out clean.
They have it. This is a very weird fight for West, but everyone is seemingly making it out. And as we say that, they're going to go into a re-engage here. Zape is going to get a knock there onto the player. The accidental shakedown. No, it's just going to be a throw. They will be able to get back into this box. Blake is going to more than likely, or Alex rather, is going to be picked up. Blake did get confirmed. Repay's there on the other side, going to get knocked in. A disengage turns into a re-engage there. Yours, the company just epic tacking their way on through. The revive does come through, but at that point, you just got to leave them. They came up and cleaned the fight up. Oh no, they're going to get knocked down. Zape tries to pull off a clutch, but I think ultimately going to get pickaxed in the end.
Yeah, and that was just pushing through. It was similar to a situation we saw on East where you had a 3v2v2 on either side. Well, it was 3 teams just all going through, and the high spray weapons of Luis and Tommy ended up ultimately triumphant, as now we're going to swing over to another engagement going on as he dives in on top of the Reboot van, unfortunately falling through the builds and losing every bit of his shield and his HP, down but not out. Verse Insult now in a 2v3.
They can clutch it up. They just got to play it correctly. The throwback going to come through. They're topping him off as Anthony going to take down Verse. Crimson is just running away with Salt. That zone is coming, so it'll give him a little bit of time. Anthony and Judd just trying to find him on out. Doesn't really have the ability to build here because it will give him away, and they will be able to get this pick up here, but how much more can they get? Can they go back for the reboot card? Anthony and Ja are going to sit there and get that reboot themselves, so they kind of just have to find heals for themselves. Luckily, Crimson is going to have some shield there. I think actually going to be Chug Splashes used as well as minis, and Judd's going to hear that. Now Judd knows exactly where they are.
I mean, just cue the clown music. This fight going on right now. We saw where the first zone was. We're still all the way up, pretty much in the northwest corner. They're fighting over in Sweaty Sands. It's going to be tough for whoever you see Verse already down. It's a 2v3 in this situation. So Salt and Crimson backs against the wall. No excess heals. So we saw them apply them right away after they were able to get that revive off. And neither team is still rotating. It looks like Joe's starting to kind of think about it. Tamman, maybe you can see them now finally getting into the car, going to grab one of those. Both teams opting to disengage and say, all right, we understand that we are very far away from zone. Hopefully we bruised and battered each other enough to not have to worry about Storm Surge as well. But this is going to be tough if they're not able to chain together some campfires or potentially find some white heals on this rotation. It's going to be difficult as we swing over to another potentially awkward fight right on the edge of zone. It's Jeffers, Unionfu, and Dardis, who ended up making a really good play at the end of last game to take second, but unfortunately fell at the last moment in a little bit of a tougher situation here, but seeming to find a good angle to get out of it as they rotate just a little bit to the south.
That was a beautiful play by Union, just to drop down, go back in the zone so they don't see you building. Get with your trio. Now you can heal up. They had a ridiculous amount of white heals there. Stardust will, in fact, pop a bandage there to get up to 75 HP, and it matters a lot at that point when you don't really have the HP to work with, especially with the trio above. It overall is a great move from them, but Chad's going to find them out, and now Chad can sit here and hold them if his trio is with them. They can just sit here as long as they want, but what they don't know is that Union and Company have a lot of HP in their inventory, so they can afford to take this stance and sit here just a little bit longer.
And that was a total Chad move, by the way, pushing up to a singular just wall and ramp built of wood. 3 people there. There's an entire, you don't know that there's only one trio in there. That's a relatively big box. And you're just like, nah, I'm going to hold them all off with just a sniper rifle. I think his teammates were like, hey, bud, you're a little separated. Would you mind coming back? And he's like, hey, I'm Coach Chad, but yeah, I'll come back. This seems like not the best move right now, as they are going to take a southerly approach here. You can see Union Food, Jeffers, and Dardis now opting to rotate to the north, trying to get past that trio there, who's setting up an ambush right on the other side of the tree. Fortunately for them, all the shots going to go a little bit wide. Jeffers did catch one of them. However, the rest are going to go past. And after that, Chad and Co are going to just back off, go straight to zone. And it seems like everyone's just going to be happy with the Storm Surge tags that they've gotten.
But even after that initial disengage from Chad, he went back in. He wasn't happy with that. He wanted some tags on them. So he came back with the snipers. Bluzro is going to get beamed there by Ordep. They're going to find him out. They're trying to get in to try to finish this elimination. Fighting in this place is very awkward. There's a lot of places you can't build, but being stuck in those little circles on the edge is very, very hard to get out of, and Ruben and company are going to take advantage of that. Get 2 eliminations there. Now only one an RPG going to be thrown their way, and they know it's hard to build in here. Luckily, they already went ahead and pre-farmed out all of those half walls that you can't really build around, and so they have a really good disengage here. But an RPG means a lot when you're in these box-to-box sites.
Yeah, that was absolutely terrifying, and luckily he got a little bit of a warning there. The bright effects around it was able to throw up a wall and a ramp in his face. You always want to make sure you have 2 layers of cover against an RPG, because you never know when it might just being used to explode to create a gap for a sniper bullet or some AR spray coming through. So good coverage up there. And a second time, again, boom, prime example of it. RPG comes through, the other 2 immediately swap over to AR and try and find tags going through, but they had enough coverage and somebody holding the wall on this side. And again, we see a lot of trios directly on top of each other, but Storm Surge is going to tick on. That's why you're seeing a ton of action begin right now. You see the threshold on the right-hand side. All the trios who are either just above or below are going to be forced into a little bit of action, and it seems like we have a disproportionate number of trios packed around here. There's about 4 over here in this little cantina area.
And West seems to be following the same trends. They like to be right next to other trios. That way, if they have to go for Storm Surge, they can capitalize on that. We see everyone with a nice pan shot. Wheels, Caleb, and Taltai looking for some tags. Everybody looking for tags. Ghoul and his trio trying to find an angle on Buzzo and company there, but they're not going to be able to do so. This is going to be a long battle if they continue to try to go back and forth and chip damage as we're moving over. Tripass, Jackal, and Javier there now looking to get into these players' boxes, because once again, Sundown, they're below Surge. They're getting hit quickly. There, a lot of tags come through. Jackal down to 38 HP. He has to try to find some sort of damage. And they've got the Chug Splashes, but they're running out of options.
Mini's Chug Splash is using all the utility, and you just have to go for it at some point, and they're falling lower and lower below that threshold. The pressure mounts. They hear it on the other side. Eventually, it's going to get taken advantage of. Jackal is going to get ticked over. Kripes and Javier down as well. There's Inferno on the other side. That one going to be the beneficiaries of the fact that the Storm Surge pressure came through. And you've got Poppins Co. also ramping up over near where the old ghost base used to be. The cabin there been farmed out. There are some cabbages nearby, but it's a tough area to be in because there's a lot of not necessarily really big changes in verticality, but they happen relatively suddenly, and it can be awkward with a bunch of trios now being forced to rotate into the area as it's pulling almost directly over the center of where that old ghost base used to be, and now kind of that cantina area is. As you can see, Wheels, Caleb, and Tautai just kind of posted up. Storm Surge will now turn off as we're just below 70 players. Still 27 trios remaining, so very much so a stacked lobby.
And it seems that early Storm Surge here for NA West is not as big of a factor. Everyone seems to be very aggressive when going to find it, but that late game surge is where a lot of these teams are looking to find improvements time and time and again. We see these games get to half and half out, and multiple different trios being hit by that surge, but Epic Walrus, EXE, and Trashy here, they're not content with the amount of damage they have. Even though they got 3 eliminations already, they are slowly working towards this trio. The Epic Dragon's Breath Shotgun is out in their inventory. They know this trio is either they've gotten damage on them. They know it's a duo, actually, however. So they got some prior information in the site that'll allow them to keep doing this. They're not even in their own builds right now. They want to go in. They're going to set up a nice ambush. They can just walk through and spray if they catch this team off guard. They're looking to do it right there. Vlux and Batman Booga going to get tagged up, and that's going to be the key for them, but they're going to quickly disengage down. And so I do not think they're going to follow.
But you can see actually that XE has a good angle on them, rotating back into where their old builds actually were. Again, you talked about they weren't in their real builds. You can see them trying to sneak some sniper shots in there. That's a real tough angle as well. It's an edited floor, edited ramp, so it's going to be near impossible to trade back any shots on him. So really nice peek on there as we're going to swing and pan on out. get a look at kind of what the rest of the lobby positioning looks like as we hop back on board with our current #1 place and match 2 winners for Elim so far this game. And they've definitely been kind of the biggest benefactors of those early game drops, not being threatened by Storm Surge at all, and now priority position on pretty much the one high ground in the side of Hunter's Haven here.
And it's so great because they're so center that no matter where this half in, half out pulls, they'll be close enough that they can just bounce her over, and as other players are building up, they can build right on top of them. They do not have to worry about losing high ground if they want to go for a high ground play again. We saw them do really well at retaking the high ground multiple different times in the past couple of games. But if they get gifted a high ground, I'm expecting them to get a lot more eliminations this time around and get a lot more points, because when you have that high ground early on, if you have the ammo like they do, 258 AR ammo on Ruben here, you've got a lot of options, and a lot of players have to work around them because, as you said, this is the highest point in this entire circle. Everywhere else around is just going to slope off.
Which is not what you want to happen. The team in the high ground, as we've seen, typically, unlike last game, when you have a well-established control of it, you're able to just ride out for the rest of the game, and they definitely have a solid foundation there. They've been able to, time and time again, ride these games out and just kind of pressure down the rest of the lobby. And they've already secured a sizable number of points there. As you see the quick stat left-hand side, 9 sniper elims in game number 2, a single game record. We got to see a couple of those, but Wes in particular, you know, if you're not able to necessarily find those box dives as much and you are a little bit more passive, it makes sense that you're relying on the sniper to kind of be the playmaker. It's a lot safer. You don't have to throw out as much and risk as much in order to overexpose yourself or potentially be taking a bad trade in close quarters. And then if you are able to even just get the knock, that's a win in terms of the Storm Surge. If you're able to get the elim, that's even better. But still, just the damage that comes through from one singular headshot as they're trying to get a lineup here. And they will find the damage. I'm not sure if they're the ones to actually get the knock on that. It's some lobby focus going through. They're just going to try and get some extra tags. You can see the pings coming out right away as a Storm Surge is going to threaten still 6 more teams here as that zone is finally going to close in 10 seconds.
A lot of players going down because they just waited too late to rotate and getting lobby focused as Wheels and company have a player right below. I think they're going to be able to find him out there. No, actually, I think going to go over to the team on the other side. And we do see Edmongo going down there, Oaken going down as well. A lot of players not able to make this rotation. And with it pulling off of that high ground, the other second height is not going to be able to do so. And a nice snipe from Wheels onto Ruben.
And as you see that format there on the left-hand side, we're just about to get into those placement points. We have 18 trios remaining right before we cut over to this. But as we talked about, that high ground position, while it was very strong, unfortunately, with it being in 4th zone and it being right in the middle, they were never going to pull that 50-50. They were always going to have to rotate away at some point, ceding the opportunity for the control. And look who took it. Coach Chad and them right up on the high ground, going to force everyone to rotate up into them. And they have a great angle in the rest of the lobby, as now you can see the bouncers coming out from everyone else who had to leave that eastern side high ground.
And Chad with another Chad move, alphaing up high ground once again, living up to his name, maybe able to get this victory royale here and put them very high in the leaderboard, maybe into that top 8. Wheels and company, though, are getting pressure. They have to try to look for pressure back, build out of that hard mount, kind of solidify that. Union and company are going to find elimination on the rotate, but did you see that way up on high ground? I saw Kenshi, Snacky, and their trio mate there trying to tarp out and trying to make something happen.
And right now you can see we have moved into the placement points. 16 trios remaining, 43 players left on their feet. Temi has a decent amount of room here. Luis and Joris down below him. You can just see him trying to cone peek out and see what's going on up on the high ground. How threatened is it? Because they are way up high. However, decent base and structure holding them up. Unless there's an RPG, it's going to take a decent amount to threaten him down. That's Kenshi and his trio up on the high ground. And unfortunately for literally everyone else, they're going to rotate back. But you can see everyone's starting to shoot back at the foundation in the zone. There's 3 different trios who are trying to knock it down. Will it fall? It looks like it's starting to potentially break off. Yes, they got it. They ended up knocking down the high ground. This lobby's going to change drastically here in a second.
Trashy gets the 2 elims.
And that was the two elims up on the high ground, knocking them completely out. And now you see the challenge, the build off, the playground creative skills going to the sky on the other side. And it's Rubenfu and Ordeps who are going to force him down. Buzzo in there right after. They say, don't worry about first high ground. We have second high ground as well. And everyone's going to have to move past them. So you saw Trashy and Co. perhaps maybe falling a little bit to that NA West curse. Bounce was being forced out. So can they reconnect after the play? That's going to be the question. They're going to end up on the front side of the tarp. Can they go straight up and maintain the control? Force now onto the wood builds, gets ramped off right away. It's Buzzo still trying to go back up, still sitting on 7 elims, PGing up to the sky. 48 tag in the box, finds it. Well done from Buzzo, finding the shot there, finding the finish as we have 15 trios remaining, and it looks like high ground control going back to our number one team as they're continuing the fight on the backside. But Ordeps and Rubenfu working brilliantly together as Buzzo going for the harpoon, trying to rip somebody out of their build, not going to get it, and instead just going to tarp ahead and now doubling back to help his teammates out in a really, really well executed fight from our number one trio so far here in heat number 4.
And he has 113 mats. It's like he never even started fighting. They've gotten so many of these refreshes. But no, Ruben is going to go down high wall, going to take him. He's still battling. He's still fighting. He's still clawing his way back. Bouncer going to save him for the moment. Will they be able to track him down? They will. Buzzo with the beam going to absolutely destroy him. And Ordeps is going to bounce. Once again, they maintain high ground control. We've seen them do so well on high ground that they have not yet wanted to give it up. And they're showing why.
What amazing tracking from Buzzo, cutting him down like a buzzsaw there and remaining up on the high ground. He's done so well of just staying on the front of the tarp, helping his teammates. Unfortunately, Rubenfu went down, but that was the tribute, the stepping stone to control of this game. And now it's the tale of NA West, as all this time they have enough materials to ride out to control. We just need to keep an eye on what happens at second height if they decide to challenge, as Wheels, Caleb, and Tautai recognize they can no longer challenge up on high ground. No builds on Wheels, so they're going to go down into the fray on the low ground, and the shotgun charts coming out. You can hear the charge shot going down. Tautai ends up falling. Wheels on the low ground. 83 to the immediate swap. Gets the instant elim as well. That's going to be the full as we're into our top 10 trios. Tautai still down, but some builds going over as well. Up on the high ground, though, our match 2 winners looking to make it 2 in a row as they're already on 10 elims and completely unthreatened with still tons of builds left and only one more zone left to go.
And luckily for them, their builds are in the hard mats as well, so they can keep going. Union is going to go down. Caleb and Wheels are still in the game, operating on low ground, trying to find something. Mateo and company, this is finally they're able to get to an end game. My pick trying to make it happen on low ground, but the spray from above is going to take down Union. Wreck is going to go down there as well. Timmy will fall this tree, going to provide a lot of cover from everyone down below, but Trashy is going to get a 3-piece on low ground. Absolutely dominating, but Buzzo and Ordep just have maintained the high ground the entire time. What is happening on low? Caleb still in the game. They're going to take down the Poppins duo, Caleb and Wheels, operating so well. There's a player on the other side. Nice charge there from Wheels. Is going to white tag him there. Is going to get the elimination. It's Jeffers, but a harpoon going to come through from up above. Jeffers has the Chug Smashers, though. No real builds remaining. 5 eliminations there for them. They are absolutely dominating a 2v2v3. Maybe on the heel off there from Monk and company. Nice shot there. They're going to get the elimination onto Wheels. The match will go over as well. Everybody falling down. Everyone going down as well. Monk going to fall. Caleb absolutely putting in work. But Buzzo and Ordeps have the high ground with Matt. They have the heel off potential. They just got to make sure that they don't double bounce. And Buzzo sit Ordeps down. What can he do? Can he operate? Once again, Buzzo going down. They're not even going for the heel off. They're going for the elim in style. They pick it up. Sundown. What do you know that we don't?
I mean, I saw them playing last week. They looked really, really, really good. And when the pressure is on and you have to be in the top 8, I mean, they did it last week. Why not do it again? Congratulations to that trio. Again, the former console players coming over and in 3 matches, back-to-back victory royales in 2 and 3, they have secured their way into the grand finals, and what a way to do it.
What a stylish way. They didn't even want the heel off. They went with the bouncer down just to secure it. But we're going to need Shelly and Zeke to break it down for us.
Yes, Clay. Yes, Shelly. This is Shelly, Shio, and Kelly. Really quick, fantastic cast from these two over here. Their calls are so on point. And Shao Wager, I'm so sorry. We've also given the script to Sundown he has also knows what is happening in the future. So I'm sorry, you now have competition.
Listen, man, 3 games through, still, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Ordeps and company, right? The Bouncer Trio is what I'm dubbing these guys in their glorious name, because this is twice now in total I've seen some crazy.
There's even some spicy plays going on, and who better to rate all the spiciest plays than me and Shio? So let's break down and get right into it. Of course, we have to take a look at EXE, Kyle Poppins, and Trashy's play there. That bouncer right there was an incredible victory royale. That is what got them the win there, that bouncer. And you know what, Shio? I'm going to have to give it 4 out of 5 spicy peppers.
4 out of 5 spicy peppers. Okay, I'm gonna give it kind of a 5 actually. I really like that play, but as we continue for these spicy levels, that was a little bit of end game. In the early game, we had Temmie, Louis, and Yoris push Rainbow Rentals in this last game that just happened. Some big plays right here from Yoris, diving straight in and not stopping his shots. He takes out 2 and almost 3 at the end. For me, Kelly, that's a spicy level of 4 as well out of 5.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to agree with you right there. 4 out of 5, but that, you saw it, the quick dodge from the RPG shot. I don't know if that was intentional or not, so you know what? It was a little spicy. I'm gonna have to give it 1 out of 5, Shio.
Well, I'll give it a 2. It's still kind of simmered on my tongue, but you know, Ruben Fu, from mid to early to end, can block RPGs, can win games with his team. What can this trio not do, Zeke?
Apparently get a 5 from Kelly. Not spicy enough. The pepper plays, not there, not yet. But listen, we've got 3 more games where they can absolutely show up and perhaps get that coveted 5 pepper play from Kelly. Now, of course, we got to take a look at the standings, because remember, we're halfway through the competition. It's kind of crazy to think how quickly this day is moving on through. But we have another 3 matches ahead of us, and after that, the reboot round. So make sure you stick around for all of this, because you will not want to miss it. Now, look at this. They're still holding on strong, as Sundown did kind of allude to it. There's no way this trio doesn't qualify. Oh, in any East or any West, excuse me, earlier we saw a 100-point threshold needed to qualify in that top 8, and now they're sitting at 118.
I mean, no issues whatsoever. You know, I thought we were gonna have some type of day where it's close by, but it's nice to see a team rising up from the tides. Ruben Fu and Buzzo, along with Ordeps, 118 points, 2 VRs. I feel like they're gonna get a 3rd as well moving throughout the day.
I mean, to be fair, in week 3, they got 4th place. They had 1 victory royale with 20 eliminations. So to see them up here with 2 victory royales back to back with 11 eliminations each, they definitely deserve to be up here. But to see Poppins, Kyle Poppins, I know they're Trashy, EXE, and Poppins, as well as Union Fu, Jeffers, and Dardis, tied right now for 83 points. But now we're going to be taking a look at our second page right here. This is 6th through 10th place, and you can see Temmie, Lewis, and Yoris doing a good job grabbing those eliminations, but they're not able to convert it into the final end game. They make it about to 7th place, and then they drop off. So hopefully Temmie, Lewis, and Yoris are going to change up their gameplay a little bit, because sitting in 6th place right now is still on that precipice of not making it through to the finals.
It is the hot seat, and definitely we see some people leave that seat, stand up, and get pushed out. Just like Batman Boogan, now down to 15th. Sidla, we thought would be near the top, still right now in 11th overall. Different stories that we're used to seeing up top are now down below, and the trios down from, you know, this level have gone all the way up for the top 5, so that's huge to see. Wow. Shout out to 5th place as well, which is Zeph right now, who looks so good. Thought that first game might have been a fluke, but these guys are being consistent throughout the day. Who will be up next is the question. All the way down to 25th place, we can see Hurdy, Christian, and then Keith all the way there in that 11 points total overall. Still a possibility to come back. A win, Kelly, can boost you up so high in these leaderboards.
And I mean, we've already seen some new teams kind of rise to the top right now, taking some opportunities to not just grab eliminations, but placement points. And that's what these bottom teams are going to have to do right now. I don't think they have to try and grab the victory royale. This right now isn't the reboot round just yet. They have to just stay alive. They have to make it past 7th place. They have to try, and if they can, make it all the way up to 3rd place. But that is a difficult task when you have teams like Ruben Fu and Trashy constantly there.
This is a lot we ask of these trios, but if they want to be FNCS champions, it is what they will have to do. For now, Fortnite fam, we're going to a break. When we return, the last 3 games in the reboot round. Stick around. See you in a bit.
You can call them titans, god trios, the protagonists. Whichever combination of words you choose, there's always a team that goes above and beyond in talk and gameplay compared to the rest of their region. Taking a look at the display of power in Europe over the qualifiers, each first place team per weekend showed us exactly why they deserve the title of a super team. But when did these super teams form? How did they play in the past year as a whole? And what's their story?
In the debut of this FNCS, Guildhen, Wave Janus, and Oogway, better known as Chapix, became the first team to qualify for the semi-finals in Chapter 2, Season 5. Their story wasn't as dominant as in the past, with each player consistently changing which partners and teams they were on. The story really began in DreamHack, where Hen and Chapix started to play together as international duo, placing 4th on EU Grand Finals, 13th on EU Grand Finals, and then even 1st on an open round in NA East. There was obvious chemistry, but no lock-on for this duo to play together in the FNCS, until Janus found his way in due to all of the shakeups happening between trios in Europe. With FNCS closing in and each variation of teams Janus was on not working out to their highest potential, he paired up with a duo the week of the qualifier, placing 2nd on the Trio Cash Cup in Europe that week and 8th on NA East.
Each player associated one word with their team, and that was consistency. We're not only talking about the placement here, each time we would tune into this trio on the qualifier weekend, they would have 4 eliminations post early and mid game due to the playstyle and tendencies of Chapix and Hen. With each elim being worth 2 points, having an almost guarantee of 4 elims per game is going to be a huge swing for the team going into semis and hopefully grand finals. Combine that with the brain of the back-to-back FNCS champ, Janus, this trio is dubbed the complete and consistent super team. Moving along the tracks of time, Qualifier 2 popped up. It was Train H's Skite and Falconly, along with Grizzly's Robabs, who take home the crown with the most creative and risky plays we saw throughout all the qualifiers up to date. It was strange though. Historically, things looked a lot more reserved and passive. The results from Robabs and Falconly as a duo only led them to heats in the past. But now, in this new meta together, this trio defies statistics, fixes mistakes, and plays a free-flow version of Fortnite straight towards the top.
In Qualifier 1, this trio had uncontested spot at Misty Meadows and the best chance to qual compared to so many other teams present on the day. Due to this freedom though, they spent a lot of time looting and fell behind on Surge, unable to keep up with the pace of the lobby. What was the fix? Creating the pace themselves, pushing out earlier, making radical plays towards the endgame, invading other trio sightlines and space. They placed so well across the board too, upping both their average elims and placement over the day, securing that top spot.
They had amazing plays and retakes for height, defied all statistics coming into the day, earning the title of Zone Control Masters and the perfect placement super team. We've talked a lot about chemistry, but there's different levels of how close and in sync teams can actually be. This subject is no stranger to our next trio. Take Train H Alpha and Solar Blaster, a duo playing together since the days of World Cup, and combine them with the low ground clutch minister himself from France, Vitality Nikov, and you get results of grade A++ in the chemistry department, as well as a first place finish in Qualifier 3.
Rotations are a huge thing from early to mid game in Fortnite, and this trio has stuck with dropping it craggy season after season, attacking rifts, new POIs, and even the 0 point on the rotations, regardless of if they're playing well or if they're in a slump. Being extremely comfortable with the drop spot, they have a lot of time to plan pass and never fall behind on surge damage in any game. Combine that with their love for low ground, they always end up in the best spot to be able to hit high average placement every game. That end game with a super cool retake, this trio was on low ground. Oh, that one game where they had an insane heal off? Yep, if it was EU, these guys were on ultimate low. RPG, Alpha and Blaster. End game 1v1? Yeah, Nikov either won it or they came in top 5 that game.
Consistent game plan, chemistry, clean low ground plays. They have the Seas of Fortnite on lock and have an entire nation to carry on their back coming into the semifinals this season of the FNCS. La lutte en dessous is the battle cry for this team on low ground, and we'll be seeing a lot of them this FNCS and beyond.
That's just 3 of the big super teams rolling into this FNCS. There's many more big prospects ready to take a shot at the Axe of Champions, and many underdogs still looking for their chance in the spotlight. Tune in to watch all these players make their plays on the island right after they drop out of the battle bus. Beep beep.
What's up?
Fortnite fam.
To the FNCS.
We're here in the semifinals. That's right. It's NA West, baby. We got 3 games left to go, and it's only your top 8 trios that will move on to the finals next week. Now, you're probably saying, Zeke, I just got here. I want more games. I want more action. Don't worry. If you stick around, you'll see the Reboot Round, which we've seen twice today in other regions, and it's been some of the craziest Fortnite we've ever seen. So we hope that you guys stick around, go find yourself some water, stay hydrated, grab the popcorn, eat it the way Fortnite eats popcorn, like this, and sit back and relax, because we're going into game number 4 from the FNCS. You've got Clay, you've got Sundown, and they'll be their eyes in the sky. Over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Kelly, and we're hopping in here to the last 3 games in heat number 4. Then we'll have the reboot round. And don't forget, we are joining in a match in progress. And for the first time in these 4 games, our team who has already qualified themselves, our number 1 team, Buzzo or Deps, have dropped and lost that initial fight. Them and Ruben went down off the start, so we're jumping on in here with WWG, Dingy, Oruncle, and Club Penguin Rec.
And we get to swap over to see what exactly is happening in Salty Towers, because again, our team that lands here, like Sundown said, was eliminated. So I'm not too sure if it was them that eliminated it, the team that was landing here eliminated them, but going down early is always bad. But luckily for them, with 118 points, they are chilling.
They're big chillin', and no, not like the grenade launcher that was taken out in the NA East reboot round right now. You can see Tautai, Caleb, and Wheels just occupied up here at Salty Towers. Got a little bit of room to navigate with. No eliminations coming through yet. You can see I'm trying to line up for some Storm Surge tag. Gonna get 20 there. Potentially lining up another one. That's some good long-range distance shots, but whoop! A little bit of a haircut coming through there. Probably dodged that IRL as well.
Hey, it helps. I do it all the time. You do a little dip to the side there. You are good to go. Hey, whatever you got to do to make it happen. Caleb, carrying that epic SMG once again. I really like seeing that in some of these players' loadouts. It's hard to drop a sniper rifle, but luckily, hopefully, the other players on the team will have one. We get to go back over to Sweaty Sands, where we do not see a fight this time around. They are positioned for it. Look at this ambush they're setting up. If this team rotates through, they're going to have a very uncomfortable time getting out of here.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to make this rotation, but you can see a little bit of a trap being placed right around this half wall, one of the spots where it's tough to necessarily build. And you can see, because the zone is right there, they might be a little less wary. And you can tell sometimes these ambushes have paid off. We've seen them before, but right now they're not going to stick to it. Instead, now going to opt to go for this walk over the side to see if they can't get a little bit of advantage. they have a decent amount of space to be working with, which is kind of atypical for the eastern side of Weeping Woods, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, and they need everything to go in their favor because, again, like you talked about, 7th place. We do see Storm Surge pop up, and I wanted to wait before making a note. They are below 87 damage. It's going to be a good amount of damage. They're going to have to try to find something. We do see Kenchi, Snacky, and Chris sitting in a bush to try to get this drop. 212 or 22 damage above will be really great for this zone. 7 players need to go down, so they should be good. Sitting here, grabbing that drop. It's going to give them a Dragon's Breath shotgun. I'm not sure if they're going to pick it up. I don't think they're the team to try to prioritize that shotgun over other ones. But overall, they've had a great game as well. Coming into this game on 8th place. That is the minimum qualifying spot. So you have to be in 8th place to go through to grand finals. Again, 9 through 16 do go to our reboot round, which happens about 30 minutes after game number 6. So it is going to be stacked. They desperately want to get into that top 8 because, like we saw in the NA East reboot round, it is chaotic.
It's all about the W there in the reboot round. But coming into these games, realistically, if you're able to get a win, that's 30 points going through. We've seen the line. As long as you're consistent, one solid win really does a lot to boost your potential. So with 3 games left, all of these teams who are right around that threshold are still looking to be playing for the end game. And honestly, I'm a big advocate of why not play every game like it's a reboot round? If you're always playing for a win or always playing to just make it as far as you can that placement threshold, it's a real easy way to kind of improve the your general gameplay. It's kind of the Mars OW theory of game. You just play everything to take the dub, maximize your amount of points possible, especially when you're on that arena grind. But hey, he still wins games and tournaments. He gets all the way through the end. As we're going to hop back on board here, Cooper, Cool, and Wave right on the line in terms of the top 8 and right on the line in terms of Storm Surge. You see that above the map on the right-hand side. Only 7 above. The Storm Surge is going to start ticking here right now as soon as that 3rd zone is revealed. So they want to make sure they don't remain pressured by that. So still looking for some additional tags while they're unthreatened.
And they do grab some, but once again, it goes right back down. You want to be around the 120, 150 mark, so they are not comfortable at all. They do have a great position onto this team. They can keep pushing aggressively, but now they're below. The purple lightning is coming down and striking them. They're going to get their feet shot out as well. That was a beautiful position from the low ground team. They had an amazing angle just to try to pressure this team, and Cooper going to go down as well. Now Cool and Wave have to try to out-heal it. Maybe find some damage back onto this team, Olaf, Oaken, and Elsa, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like that, and they're going to go in, grab the loot, and this is just unfortunate.
And you're probably wondering why he just got dropped completely and didn't end up in a down but not out state. If Storm Surge is the one that gets the final hit on you, you are just completely eliminated. You don't get knocked in that state. However, that was arguably beneficial for Cool and Wave that Cooper went down. Yes, they lost a member, but it prevented the Storm Surge from going off any longer on them. And yes, other trios dropped across the board, but they still end up with 2 members. They could potentially even look to sneak it back in and get that reboot. There's not a bunch of vans nearby, but we've seen later reboots already in NA West yesterday with a couple of 5th and 6th round reboots going on there that were a bit nutty. As we're going to swing back on board here, Temi, Yoris, and X Luis currently sitting on 65 points.
Yeah, 6th place here for them coming into this game. They were able to pick up an elimination, which will do really great wonders for them. And once again, every single time I feel like we've hopped on this trio, they've had a good amount of loot in their inventory, and they're able to operate really well with that. With zone pulling and showing a way for them, they have a great rotation. They'll be the first one to rotate out a Holly, as you see Sneaks in this trio trying to rotate out. They do have Tan Man behind them, and we know that Tan Man, Anthony, and Ja will go into fights regardless of their status in the game. They do often tend to have to fight because their Storm Surge damage is not above that threshold, so they may look to go on this team right here. And we know they're not currently in the zone. I think those gas cans exploding, I think 2 of them spawned in that house there, so one of them getting shot, I think, on the disengage from that house from the other team. Now back over to the southeast side of Weeping, you just see another rotate come in. This trio coming into this game was on that bubble, 9th place actually from them, and they're right there. They could qualify Sundown.
You have BH, GGEs, you have Select, Coach Chad, and then High Wall, Fu 8, You can see them just trying to occupy a little bit of this basement and the space here, right on the southern side of the zone, where that fourth zone is going to pull. It's going to be super key for this rotation because, as you can see, a lot of teams packed into the southern side of the map are actually going to pull a little bit to the northwest. So expect kind of the southeastern corner of that new safe zone there, the bottom right-hand corner. It's all the way in the top left of the map. That's going to get really packed in with players. Meanwhile, the ones over in Holly Hedges don't have to move too far. Most of the zone's going to be nearby to them. They should just be able to tunnel in, and we should see a limited number of fights on that side as the players already on the far side beginning their trek into the zone.
We get to take a look at Extras, Quinn, Dylan, and Juicy here as they try to rotate to the ultimate dead side of zone. Nobody is going to be on this path looking at them. They've already rotated in, and this is so great for them. They cannot afford to take more tags. They have shields. They don't have the max amount of builds there. They're also going to be awarded a drop as well, which is so great because it will guarantee you the ability to get some of those bouncers in your inventory. Dylan will box it up just for safety measures, but you see epic charge shotgun being pulled as well. This is such a beautiful rotate for them. They're getting all the tools they need to win this game.
And I really like the fact that Quinn went ahead, went into the zone, and made sure they couldn't be cut off. Because one thing to note is that supply crate out there, everyone sees that drop off of the map. Everyone hears that drop off of the map. So they know that somebody decided to go over and pick that up. But because Quinn has already kind of gone over and built out with the hard mats ahead of time just over the peak of that hill, they didn't have enough time to get in position to punish them. So really good execution and just kind of showing the mental side of the gameplay that goes in as players are going to begin to crowd around the outside of the fourth zone. That's because the fifth zone is kind of our transition point into the mid game to the late game, as that fifth zone will be the half in, half out, where the safe zone no longer is completely inside the previous one and will then intersect with zone 6 and 9, then being the full moving, and where we see all of that late game chaos as the observers do a great job of kind of panning, giving you a good idea of what trios are where, how they're laid out. You see a lot of hard mats being established right now in case anybody does pull zone. They don't want to be building with wood, kind of drawing attention to themselves. Here's that action I was talking about kind of on the southeast side of the zone as everyone's trying to get a little bit of real estate.
Pars by himself, angle on it all. Will they pull the half in, half out? They will, and the guaranteed buildup is coming through. Dylan will build up with Juicy and Quinn. They got to make sure, though, that they fortify this base really well, because if they pull that zone, they will be in such a great spot. And Sundown, they are so far above Storm Surge, they do not have to worry about getting tags at all.
I don't have to worry about getting tags at all, but Dylan's making my 90s look pretty good right now, and that's all I'm about to say, as Quinn had about 3 or 4 different stories on him. But we talked about that priority rotation, and now there is no one even remotely near them. So if that 6th zone ends up pulling towards the north side, they're going to be in such a prime position to just ride this game out in the very typical NA West control. You could already see Dylan kind of looking across the field, trying to get an angle on that open space where a number of teams are going to have to rotate. Meanwhile, on the other side, you have Quinn and Juicy looking towards that kind of large apartment complex of builds just to the south of them, where they know a bunch of other players are packed in. They just want to make sure that nobody makes a push towards their side of high ground, because they know they have control. So we're going to hop aboard with a team who's trying to make this long trek to the northeast corner, and Kenchi is just eating bullets.
He is. That wall going to mess him up just a little bit. Does get to his team. They are almost on the right edge of zone. They're keeping the builds going. Snacky is building them in the zone. They don't have time to heal, but Kenshi is so low. If he gets taken down, he goes for a cheeky little shot there on the back. Ooh. He's actually going to get the knock on the salvo. What a play. If he's able to get that elimination, he'll get that siphon and that extra 2 points there. But they've got to look back for it, because as you can see to the left, I believe it's Moni able to pull him into zone. So even just that Storm Surge damage is going to do wonders for them.
Yeah, but they're looking back wondering, where's that elimination coming? Well, Moni quite literally put G-Salves onto his back. He said, no, you're coming with me. You see him yanking him forward. See if they can't stick that revive, remain as much of a trio as possible. And right now, they're going to be seeing if they can't kind of queue out the audio queue, find out where it is. So we're going to swing back on board here over to our high ground, and boom, that zone pulled to the northwest. We talked about it about 20 seconds ago, but everyone and their mother, brother, sister, little cousin, niece, nephew is going to have to rotate right past Juicy, Quinn, and Dylan, and they're going to have their pick of shots here. So Can they maintain the high ground, and can they convert? And right as I say that, 33, 49, right out of Dylan, pulls out the sniper, not quite going to be able to connect. 162 above Storm Surge, so want to keep an eye on that, but they should see plenty of drops and plenty of tags. There's another headshot coming through from Dylan. You see Tanman getting a full elim onto Costi, and they're going to begin the rotation across. Good tarp out ahead from Quinn. Dylan going to opt to burn one of his bouncers to go ahead. And notice how they're not too high up here on the high ground, trying to maintain as much mats as possible. And as I said that, Dylan's actually going to go up an extra couple of layers.
And I like that they're playing these two different levels of high ground here in the end game. It's so good. Prevents that RPG from really going after them. Maybe due to the fact that they don't have a lot of mats. Don't know what Quinn and Juicy have there on the low ground, as EXE is still going to be in the game, still operating there on low ground. Dylan will go for that heal off. He's got the 4 floppers in the inventory. Salvo is now going to go down there. Can Moni touch up any more points there for the trio? Because Sundown, we're not even in placement yet.
I was just about to say, there's still a bunch of trios on their feet as 18 are up, moving into the 7th zone here. Storm Surge going to turn on, then tick back off. And as you say that, placement points are going to come through, and placement points are going to come fast. Select Coach Chad on the low ground. Can he be the Chad and live up to his true name? Finds one Elin back in the zone, dips back, but doesn't have any white heals, which is going to end up costing him. Needs to find an angle, finds a bouncer. He's going to be able to get himself back into the zone. You still have Quinn up on the high ground. You can assume they're going to run it out. And Coach Chad, 2 HP in a dream, and that dream is going to end in 11th place as he gets taken down and doesn't even get a moment to grieve as the harpoon comes through, yoinks the loot away, and we swing back up to the high ground. TSG Dylan still raining shots down. He's been very accurate with that assault rifle, but hasn't converted into a ton of downs. But they're all about the placement points as they just continued racking them up, and not a single bullet has been thrown back their way. As top 6 now, you see Josie getting a knock there onto Elsa. She won't be singing anymore as we swing back down the low ground to see what's going on down here.
Snack and his full trio are still up, but Caleb and their full trio are still up. As I say that, Caleb is going to go down, so Tautai and Wheels still trying to make a play, but Quinn and his trio were coming into this game, I think, in 10th place, almost able to make something happen. Snacky, though, ultimate chaos on the low ground, trying to track these players, does get the pistol reloaded, not in time, though. He's going to go down. EXE going to be the one to take him down. Juicy operating there, taking down Rhett. Kenshi is going to find one on the backside. Still not top 3 where they want to be. That placement is going to be so important. EXE trying to make something happen. Wheels is going to go down. Tautai trying to get shots there onto Kyle Poppins, and they will. Epic Walrus not going to be in this game, but still no top 3, no placement points there for them yet. They have to just stay alive, and Tautai going to be the one to go down, so EXE does get a good amount of damage. Kenshi is in this game as well, but his teammate Chris is going to go down, so it's a 3v1v1. Kenshi's got that epic charge, though. He can put a lot of damage on high ground, got a little bit of builds remaining, trying to get to that top 2. And once again, a lot of placement points there. Chris will finally tick over. No builds remaining here for Kenshi. If his cone gets sprayed out, if his floor gets sprayed out, he is going to go down. And it's going to be EXE actually first that goes down, and they're going to find Kenshi out. They pick up the 9 elimination victory royale. What a great game for them.
9 elims, and that is the VR as well, and something we see a little bit more typical of in West, where a competent team pulls that 5th zone, the high ground. They make a huge investment in terms of building up their foundation, and they end up just riding it out. Great execution. Again, 9 eliminations. That's going to be 18 points, plus the 30 from a victory royale, rocketing them back up into contention.
Great game all around, and it wouldn't be a West Finals without Extras Quinn. We're going to need Shelly and Zeke to break it down for us.
Yes, embrace the Shelly. All right, first of all, let's talk about this. This trio comes into this game, okay? They're in 10th place. They've got 38 points. They're thinking, all right, a top 8 is what we need to qualify to finals next week. We need to do this. Let's just win the game and just drop a bunch of eliminations. In fact, let's just double our points off a single game. That's all it takes, Shai.
Absolutely. That is really all it takes. But sometimes it takes a game and a half, maybe a bit more, right? And sometimes there are no VRs whatsoever for some teams that qual. So Kelly, this next bit that we have is focusing on those trios who might be sliding by with no victory royales at all in the day.
You may have heard the phrase, Always the bridesmaid, never the bride, and that's what we're going to be looking at right now with Tao Tai, Wheels, and Caleb's team. They've had a few incredible games, in fact, finishing third twice now, and look at how many eliminations they have, 10 eliminations each, but you can see they don't have complete height right there, and although they're taking aggressive plays to jump down, grab even more eliminations, that aggression is what's going to cost them that game, and now we're going to be taking a quick look at the third game that they played there. Again, less aggression in this game right here, but dropping down a little bit of a risky play right there. Probably a play that he didn't intend to make, but it's going to be Wheels that goes down, grabbing even more eliminations while Tata is being dropped down. And although those eliminations help, it wasn't enough to get them the victory royale. Instead, it is going to be another third place finish.
Yeah, for context, they were going in 4th place overall before that last game into these final moments of the heat. Now we switch over to the Union Fu, Jeffers, and Dardis. These guys have been looking good throughout the entire day, whether it's low or height or mid-ground. These guys also not really rolling able to win just yet, but are in 3rd place overall going into that last game. We're looking at them utilizing peppers, utilizing movement and positioning more than most other trios we're watching today. Lots of good picks off of Union as well throughout the time. So not relying on VRs, not relying on being on height 20 or being on height 24/7. It's a better idea to possibly play these cheeky angles, wait inside the storm, go for big damage, and really hold back as many other people as possible. Kind of a perspective there for some teams who don't have the chance to win whatsoever all the time. But after that last game, those are some big winners that we have now on that board.
Well, we also saw in game 3 there with Jeffers, like, I think he kind of knew that he wasn't going to have the victory royale. His teammates were down already. It was just him. His loadout wasn't that great. So being able to take as much as you can in this kind of situation, regardless of if you're going for the win or not, I think that team right there does a good job of trying to see what their situation is and making the most out of it.
Still, yeah, now we're at the standings looking at exactly how and what changed. Ruben Fu, Buzzo, and Ordep cannot be stopped, still in 1st place, even though they kind of faltered in that last game. 118 points. Poppins EXC and Poppins as well. Trashy's one of those Poppins, moving up and making it a 1-point game.
1 point that separates these two teams right here. Absolutely insane. And actually taking a quick look at the differences that these two teams play, with Ruben Fu and Ordeps having sort of a hot and cold representation. They've gone 23rd and 30th and then 1st place twice, in comparison to Trashy, EXC, and Kyle Poppins, who constantly see themselves at the end game. They're more so going for that consistency, whereas Ruben Fu and Buzzo are going for broke. They want the victory royale, and if they're not going to get it, then we're probably not going to see them in the end game.
Absolutely not. And Quinn, Juicy, and Dylan off of that win. They had a good day overall beforehand as well. I think in the first game actually being the first trio to be taken out. Now in the 4th, winning the game with 9 elims. Very momentous trio, so we'll see what they end up doing this game. Elsa was also in that end game right before. Sundown had a beautiful call of, not being able to have any songs written anymore or any shots being thrown as they went down, but they still were very close to that top placement. We'll see a lot of other trios trying to rise up, though, in these spots. Remember, a win can get you all the way into the top 8, just like it did with Quinn.
Yeah, but this is definitely starting to look a little rough right now. We only have 2 more games remaining before we find out which 8 teams are going to be automatically moving towards our finals. These teams right here are no longer taking their shot at the top 8. They are now struggling to get 9th through 16th place right now, because that is where their 1 shot remains.
Man, you got to be able to adapt and make as much of a run as you can. This is something that you just kind of hinted at, Kelly. Being able to take all of these little moments as far as you can, move up those standings as far as you can, especially earlier on, would give a lot of these trios a much better position to head into these last 2 games. But we're drawing closer to the conclusion of NA West, which means some of these trios might even fall out of top 8 and be forced into that reboot round, while other trios find those last-minute surges to jump up into the standings and push on to finals next week. With 2 games left, the question becomes which of these trios will solidify themselves one of those top 8 spots. It's time, Fortnite fam. I'm getting real sad because it's almost over, but right now, Game 5 time. Play, Sundown, back your way.
Zeke, is it almost over or is it just beginning? Don't forget, this is a journey to our finals that start next weekend. And it's going to all lead up to that. That's where all the money, all of the pride, all the prizes in that vaunted FNCS Axe of Champions is on the line. But right now, we're keeping an eye on 6 spots up for grabs in the West. Ruben Fuate, Buzzo, Ordep Season, and TRNL Poppins, TRNL XC, and then Epic, who will join them. My name's Sundown, and joined here by Clay Stelling to call the last of the action and then the reboot round.
Now, we still got another round after this one. These 2 games to go through. We get to see our winner's POV, and not often do we see a winner coming out of a contested spot, and let alone Steamy Stacks. I honestly cannot recall the last time we saw anybody coming out of Steamy Stacks winning a game while being contested on any region.
I think I can actually, only because they were one of my predictions going back. Wasn't that Falconer, Cadenox, and his trio? Were they able to win the early contestation? But it wasn't really a contestation. They're doing kind of what it looks like, similar to Quinn Dillon and Juicy right here, where it's almost a pseudo split where you just loot the one side as fast as you freaking can, and then utilize the fact that you have those kind of cooling towers in the excess, and then potentially go ambush somebody on that Cami split or kind of that spread out scavenger route on the eastern side. It seems like that's kind of the game plan they were able to execute last time. But with that being said, the other team now in the Steamy Stacks is positioning to kind of deny a transition out. So it could be a little bit more difficult.
Gonna have to make it work, though. Coming off that victory royale, do not want to go down that early, as Quinn is just angle here on these players sitting in the cone. They're farming up because they know no matter what, they have the rotation, like Sundown talked about, of the stacks they can get out at any point in time. It's just where they choose to go. And these players have got to know where all the campfire spots at, where all the fishing hole spawns are as well. Now we're going over to Retail Row, where we see 3 different trios fighting. Nico gonna go down, Blake gonna go down as well. Zeph, Morgan, and Edmungo trying to get in, trying to find the shots. Morgan gonna take a lot of damage from that pistol, but the fire gonna help him. No builds indeed, and there's still another trio here. They've got to be careful.
Yeah, they have to be careful. You can see Frixus is going to end up getting dropped and confirmed. This was our 8th place team coming into the match, so right on that bubble, and going to be happy for any early eliminations that they're able to pick up. And it looks like they can resolve that fight relatively quickly, so good on them. They'll take the bonus points, but that pressure early on has got to make you sweat a little bit, particularly with just 2 matches there. And they're actually able to pick up 4 elims there. So they got the trio plus a little bit of a spare. Might go hunting for the other duo here to really try and push their way up the leaderboard, knowing that they're under distress, because Retail Row with 3 trios, there's barely enough loot to support trios, and sometimes even 1 trio here. And these guys are just going to look to push and try and figure out where those other 2 ran off to us. We're going to swing over to the woods with Temi as we keep an eye on all of those trios who right on the line. We're going to be keeping an eye on everyone who's ranked between 3rd and 8th pretty much from this point on, because 1st and 2nd have already locked up their spot. And right now, Temi, Luis, and Yoris are right in that threshold, currently sitting in 7th place. You can see there on the left-hand side, the quick set. Temi's trio has more first zone elims than any other team, so playing very aggressively kind of right after they've gotten into that spot and not afraid to necessarily take fights. And that's probably why they've been setting themselves up to not necessarily be under that much threat from Storm Surge.
And that's the thing coming into heats. If you're a team that doesn't have as much experience in these games, you cannot be afraid to take fights, because if you are, you're immediately going to be down a footing there. If you're confident going into these fights, you're thinking, hey, I'm on the same level, I deserve to be here. You may walk away like Timmy, Lewis, and Yoris. You may come out in a contention spot for that top 8. So you cannot come in not thinking that you don't deserve to be here, because you do. You grinded through multiple different rounds of qualifiers just to get here.
And that's one thing that goes for competition in any way, shape, or form. I used to play a ton of different games competitively at a super high level, but I also competed in soccer at a very high level across the board. And I can tell you the times when I dropped off, it didn't have anything necessarily to do with the physical capability. But once you kind of question yourself and you're like, man, these guys are pretty good. Like, do I really belong here? You lose a little bit of that edge. That's why you see some of the confidence, almost borderline cockiness by some of these players. And you think, wow, how can they really be like that bold or think they're that good? Because in reality, that's part of being at this level. You have to know you belong, because if you want to win, you have to beat out every other trio in the entire regions. Tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of players who are competing to try and win that prize. So you gotta have a little bit of a mental edge. You gotta have a little bit of toughness in there.
You definitely do. Mateo, Sidla, and Monk not having the best early games. Still here, still trying to get into that top 8, and talking about having a strong mental attitude here. This is a team that's going to need it going into these last couple of games, because their first games were not the best. They were getting eliminated on spawn. They weren't being able to get into the rotation. And then that last game, they got into the end game. They're getting there, getting those placement points. So if they can secure getting together in the end game all together, I think they're definitely going to pop off. And that's why I picked them to get first. And right now, I'm just hoping they at least make it to that top 8, because I definitely think they can.
Yeah, they're in reboot round range right now, but there's so many teams who are just one game away. We've talked about kind of the point spread and how it looks right now. 40 points would be 18th place, and that is just one singular push into the top 3 that would put you then into the top 8. So still plenty to be done here in the last 2 matches, but don't be surprised as the tension kind of racks up. And it's a shame we just talked about the early game elims, but that trio, Termi's trio, who has the most first round elims, just picked up another trio, full wipe for them, add another 6 points onto the board, and they're going to push themselves up a little bit higher, now only 1 point behind 6th place there. So we're now going to swing back on board here. We have G-Salves, Moni, and Pierre. We saw G-Salves unfortunately be the victim of a really tough pick last game that kind of sent their mid and late game into a spiral. Moni was forced to literally put Salves onto his back and try and carry him into the zone. The revive eating up a lot of their utilities. They're hoping to make this a little bit of a cleaner engagement, but they need to be aware as there's a number of different trios in the area.
And you know, you mentioned Frozen, this trio trying not to get Frozen out of the top 8 there. You know, they have been doing so well. I picked them in qualifier, I think number 3 or 2, to do so well, the team that Salves is fighting. But they just haven't been able to find their footing, haven't been able to get that momentum going like Symmetrical did. Symmetrical came out yesterday, absolutely dominated, started getting the footing underneath him, started rolling with it. And that trio that Moni and company were trying to go on to, not able to do that. So hopefully they're able to get started. Again, they're also on the bubble as well.
It might have something to do with those southern zones there. Trying to build a snowman with sand is tough. It's rough and coarse, and it just gets kind of everywhere and doesn't necessarily clump together how you want. And you've got to stick together if you are that trio. We saw them in a tough situation. But speaking of tough situations, a team right on that bubble yet again, our 9th place team. Select coach Chad might have made too much of a Chad move early on. Him and Highwall Fu already down. GG Easy gonna dip out into the storm, and you might think he's running the wrong way. Well, with only a 1 or 2 tick zone and Slurpy Swamp being right there, he could actually just sit in the water and not lose any change of HP. The zone is also pulling just hang out for a little bit and see if he can't make a solo clutch in the end game. So we're going to swing back on board here. Unifun, Jeffus, and Dardis. We saw them make a really solid push into the top 2 earlier today, but now taking a fight here just outside Weeping Woods, and a little bit of tough situation. Unifun actually gets brilliantly combed through a wall or 2 there, and he was almost panicked for a second, couldn't get out, had to fall back. His teammates coming to save him there. Just a little bit of moment there that was a little bit awkward. You can tell he kind of wants to reset after that. I mean, honestly, that was jarring for me for a second.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he got out of that. Luckily, his teammates were there to help him out, but they don't want to give this up. They're taking that and say, hey, you can't just push at us, back away, as we're Debs and company actually going to be the ones that were going on to them. So coming out of, I think, game number 2, that was our 1st and 2nd place. Now our 1st and 4th place fighting is Cypher, another bubble team already down Hav. They did get a knock there, but as you see, it's currently being rezzed. They don't want to go into this box with the little amount of HP that they have. Vinny has no shields, and Cypher has chug splashes, and they're not going for the heal.
No, they want to try and push through, and they know that they have this team at a disadvantage. Anytime they spend healing means they're not getting down and securing that loot. They have to push them out of the box, and a brilliant tag there. 82 into 71. They know that other player is low as well, but no knock coming through means they're just going to take the time to secure the loot from their down teammate and then back off, which they desperately needed to get those shields, get the big pots. That was 3 big pots. That was the main reason they went in there, because otherwise Vinny wouldn't have had any excess shields. So taking the Storm Surge and that trade as a win, I think the other team's going to be happy with that as well. That's the Pop and Screw, who's already qualified, currently in second, but a ton of trios tough to rotate out of this area.
And once again, West following that same zone as Cypher and Vinny are trying to get away. 71 damage below. They're trying to stop so they can pop a little bit of heals, but they're ultimately going to have to go back in. No, they're 260 above, so finally coming through. They don't have to worry about that. That is great for them, because if they were below Surge, all of that fighting they just did would have been for nothing. So they get gifted a lot of good loot from, unfortunately, their partner going down. They were able to grab it. They're in a decent spot. They did grab the reboot card as well, and we've seen crazier reboots from West.
They're going for it. Like, they're trying to make a room for it. You can see them. The reboot van is right there. They're eyeing it, seeing if they can't get over. They want to get Hav back up on his feet, knowing, hey, just 2 matches, having one person here could make the biggest difference. The problem is, the second you go over and start building around this, it's kind of signals to everyone that somebody's being rebooted, and then there's a literal signal and horn that goes off that the entire lobby can hear. So expect the second this comes down for at least some kind of action or response, and if not, then that's brilliant from Cypher, Vinny, and Co, because they set up a good little retreat here, and they are going to be able to get back out and in with very little answer. So good job from them. Just some AR damage coming through. They're going to find some excess shotguns as well, and Hov's back on his feet.
And luckily, they're in a POI that you can build around the entire reboot van in, because most of the time you have to build in a 2x2 grid. That one is just a 1x1 straight up, and you're good to go. We did see EXE get knocked there, as well as Epic Oris, but Trashy got a knock, put that pressure back, and now is picking up both of his teammates here. And Vinny, Cypher, and Hav are wasting no time getting back into the action, because they know we do not have the same amount of loot that we did now that we have Vinny or Hav up back. So they have to try to find more loot. They're going to grab a player with a harpoon. They're going to try to grab him in. They don't own these builds, so they can't get in as quickly. Vinny looking for an angle. He owns that wall. Can they get in? No, they're not going to be able to. But Jeffer's going to fall on the feet, as well as Dardis.
Yeah, keeping an eye on that top left-hand corner. Buzzo also picking up Elam, but Vinny going for the wide flank all the way around the outside. Going to find a good angle on them as well. This team desperately trying to retreat away. Jussie also picking up an Elam. That's going to be Quinn and Co. pushing further up into the top 8. Buzzo, one of the secure group, picking up yet another there. You see Tautai trying to get his confirmation in there. Olaf is going to be able to finally freeze Moni there. Pierre also going down the top left. Vinny sees Cypher going low. Hob also down. Now all of a sudden it's going to be all on the back of Vinny, so the wide flank not necessarily worth it, as the Pop and Screw is able to come through, pick that one up, and being separated sometimes is the downfall. We've talked about it time and time again, how fighting hip to hip has proven to be a tried and true way to at least make it through and make fights contentious, but the wide flank for Vinny does not pay off. So now we're going to swing over to a bubble team who has managed to keep all 3 of their members up. It's Sidla, Mateo, and 5G Monk.
They're up, but they do not have a lot in their inventory to work with. Luckily for them, they're all 100 shields, so they have that going for them. They're positioned in a great zone. This positioning of everybody in zone is a little bit awkward. They're playing a little T there in the middle, but Monk, Sidla, and Mateo, even though they don't have a lot to work with, they have good mats, they have decent weapons, and they have shields. So they have a good setup. They don't have the best setup, but they can work with this. They can turn this around. Again, on the bubble, trying to get in. As we see EXE get a takedown tender in the feed, they were a team just making sure that they were in such a great place, second place, right? So they don't need any more points to qualify through. But right now, they're just trying to get as many as they can.
Yeah, they want to make sure they're keeping down their other opponents, potentially keeping somebody out of grand finals who might be contesting through, and also just trying to get as many points as possible. You never know what might happen, and they might swing back up. As you can see, player actually getting down through. That's Club Penguin getting wrecked there. They're going to try and get the revive off. You can see Dingy trying to hold the hard mats and potentially even throw a sniper bullet back off to prevent them from continuing that chase. Looks like the team's just going to be content with the Storm Surge damage. Now, don't forget here, in a match number 5, it's typically the game with the least amount of Storm Surge that we see because there's a little bit more excess aggression going through before things will tighten back up in game number 6. And, oh, what happened to Quinn? Quinn just went down out of absolutely nowhere. He might have been peeking through and caught a snipe bullet, but now some AR rounds coming through, and they're going to want to get that revive up right away.
I think it was a sniper shot there as they are on high ground. Rec will eventually get picked back up there. They don't have the white HP, though, to heal him up. He's going to be sitting at 110 HP, and luckily for the first time, I think today, everybody that's in that center of the zone will be pulling this one. We do know that if you set up center and third zone, you're almost guaranteed to pull that fourth zone there. But the half in, half out, if it pulls anywhere to that northwest, there's one little arrow over there that'll have a really, really good spot at it. But if you're that team and the opposite happens, it is going to be very, very hard to rotate through, as we do see Luis actually able to pick up an elimination in the feed. Again, they're in 7th place coming into this game, so they need to keep the pace up. They cannot afford to falter here.
You can't afford to falter. Only 2 more matches here in heat number 4 of NA West, match number 5 right now, and then match 6. Then we'll go to a little bit of a break and have the final opportunity for players to make it in to that final round next weekend via the Reboot Round, which has been absolutely hype in every single region where only the winner will go through. But right now, it is about avoiding that Reboot Round and getting into the top 8, avoiding that pressure and getting as many points as possible to just keep your tournament, your FNCS hopes alive, as the observers again panning around, getting some good view of the lobby where the trios are laid out, who's staking their claim, who's potentially box to box and eating some shots. You can see Xe over there potentially under a little bit of pressure. So we're going to hop on board here. Zeph, Morgan, and Edmungo trying to get some shots over towards Xe. It's pinned towards the ground, not necessarily, oh, and just going to get ripped apart there. Zeph going to find the final tag there. Will get the credit as well. That's their 4th elimination to go through, 75 points so far, and that's going to put them right around the bubble. They were our 8th place team coming in. However, those points definitely going to push them up 10 from Elam so far in just this game.
And you talked about trying to stay alive. There, I believe Bluzro was sitting in a bush there as we pan through, just trying to stay any sort of alive. He is there, so Bluzro is alive with Nerdy and his team. May be able to make something happen there, but we did see Edmungo get an elimination there as well. I don't exactly know where they were coming into this game. I think way outside that top 20, but again, even though they're outside the top 20, if they have a pop-off game here and then a pop-off game next game, they could get into that top 8, maybe in the Reboot Round as well, as now we get to see them rotating through. This is going to be hard for them. And it looks, now they pulled, there's no way they're moving here unless they pulled half in, half out.
And you want to say pulled half in, half out, but there is literally no one else over here. They were just able to stroll on in, a couple of AR rounds thrown their way just to kind of hand check them a little bit. But you can see Nerdy was 100% late rebooted here with just that common pistol, the uncommon tack, and then a bunch of wood. When you do get rebooted in, you end up with a great pistol, 100 ammo, and then 100 wood on it. So just trying to make the best of a bad situation, and pulling zone with nobody over there is definitely going to allow them to do that, potentially making up for their lack of resources in terms of a positional advantage, but already having to cede the high ground over to that most aggressive team in terms of Temi and his trio.
But somehow, with that elimination, they're 619 damage above Storm Surge. So even though they have very little to work with, at least they have that going for them, as well as the positioning, as we do get to see Salt and Verse with Crimson coming behind, trying to take another high ground here. Multiple high grounds will come through in this half in, half out, as Ruben gonna take down Costly. That's a nice elimination. Another bubble team. We've seen them before from Edmungo's perspective. Morgan and Zeph, 5 eliminations coming in to this end game. That is a lot to work with, but it cost them a lot of mats.
Yeah, you can see there, just kind of posted up, peeking through the cone right now. 50 players remaining, so no Storm Surge in play. The second time we have seen the Storm Surge kind of turn off so far before getting into this phase. Generally, you've seen at least a couple players being hit by it, so a little bit more comfortable going on right now, but the pressure is going to ratchet up, particularly on those teams right around the bubble, the ones trying to make it into the top 3 appearance. We don't have our placement points yet. We also just saw a rocket go flying into that high ground situation, so with zone pulling towards the south, we'll have a number of players with priority, mainly right now being Realty Morgan, Antraxis, Edamongo, and RT Zeph. Again, a decent amount of heals on Morgan as well if they get forced outside of the zone. They're going to begin trying to take a decent angle around the side here. As you can see, the zone is actually pulling down and away from them, so I apologize on that missed call. So we are going to get the wide here. We're going to see them begin to try and find a path here on the low ground, but they have to be careful. There's so many trios around them.
And they're so split up from each other. Morgan is leading the charge, and he's actually going to find Edamongo, who was leading in on the opposite side. Trashy going to take down a player there in the feed, still trying to operate. Morgan, though, is falling down, running out of builds as well. His trio is right above him. Can they get to them? As Joris, Timmy, and Luis have high ground, and they are a bubble team. With this game, if they can get it up above 100 points, they're looking really good going into that last game. Snacky going to pick one up as well. Nice bouncers here. Joris, though, going to get boxed up. He gets coned. Is he going to be able to get out? No, he should have used the harpoon to get out. One hit to that wall. He does finally get out of the cone, but it's a high ground battle we've seen time and time and again, and luckily they're able to claim it.
Yeah, and they go straight up. The team on the second height having no interest in investing the maps, just kind of tossing a little cone on him, making his life difficult. So we hop back on board here. Right now trying to execute on the high ground. You can see Temi picking up an elimination. However, that was not his knock, so not going to be any excess points coming in. However, the placement points are going to be able to start ticking over there as we have 16 trios remaining. 1 point for each trio dropping as we actually see Zeph going to hit on the backside and Storm Surge kind of sirens for the first time this game. As you can see, the damage now finally starting to come through. Players up on the high ground doing a good job, but there is also a couple of low ground tarps on either side as they begin to now move a little bit more towards that northeast side. We have Mateo, Monk, and Sid still hip-to-hip play. This is your prediction on the low ground, sitting on 1 elim and 63 points, moving now into the top 10. This is going to be such a huge game for them if they can get into that top 3.
It'll be so great, but they don't have a lot of mats. They do get a nice drop down there. Not sure they're able to get that elimination. It does go over to Monk, but they're grabbing everything. Mateo, being a little bit too greedy there, will get out, but 12 HP. He cannot afford to take any ticks in zone right now. He's got to get in, try to pop some minis. He already threw a flopper over to Monk, so he doesn't have that option. Shots come through, though. They could go for the siphon, but Sidlock going to go down. Now Mateo has to go back. The zone, though, they're not in it. They are going to find a player right there, trying to trade. Cool, going to go down. They got to stay alive to get that elimination. Will they be able to get it, though? Monk does have good builds, does have a decent amount of HP, can make this happen to get top 3 is where they're looking for. Kenshi going to take down players yet again. They are in this game as well, but Luis, Joris, and Timmy are on the high ground there. Crimson going to go down. Monk trying to make it through, but unfortunately is going to go down there to Sorp.
And up on the high ground, we have it again. We talked about them early in the game. Their first round eliminations being huge. Well, right now, their high ground control being huge. Temi up to 4 eliminations. Joris on 2. Luis on 1 for a total of 7. 14 points for the elims. And now racking up the placement points as top 3 is about to tick over on the low ground. Snacky, Kenshi, and Kurs trying to find the angles. And they're able to get a knock and a couple tags as well. That could end up proving disastrous as the high ground challenge now ends up coming out. It's going to get yoinked right away. It's Chris going up to the high ground. Snacky's been taken down. Kenshi's trying to do his best, but super low HP. Chris now low as well, being forced out, but they're currently on 13 eliminations, and Chris did it. Chris almost was able to take it away, but instead Joris comes up huge at the last moment. Luis being the casualty as now they fall down the low ground. It's going to come down to the player back in the zone. He's going to be content with second place as he falls to the 11 eliminations of Joris, Temi, and Luis, who will also secure their final placement there with a match 5 victory royale. We talked about it, their aggression early on now translating into enough control to allow them to win the match.
And a double-digit elimination victory royale as well. I think that's the third one that we've seen today. But Kenshi, Snacky, and their trio mate there looking so good, constantly getting into that top 3, that top 2. So we got to see where they're at on the leaderboard.
We have to check out the leaderboard. Zeke, Shio, Kelly, what do you got for us going to match number 6?
How is the day almost over? No, Fortnite. You know, let's just tack on like 10 more games. I'll just stay around. You guys are good for this? You got no? Okay, all right. Listen, this is it. Final match on the day. We did get a brand new team showing up, getting themselves the Victory Royale, and probably securing placement. I mean, they're well over that 100-point threshold, which we're kind of used to seeing qualification kind of hover right around. Now, of course, we got to talk about all the Victory Royales. There's probably some of you guys that are just tuning in, first of all. I hope you've had an incredible day. You missed some VRs? Don't worry. Kelly and Shy, they're here. They're going to break it all down for you.
Let's check it out, all the VRs from the day, and then we'll break down that game and a bunch of teams that actually ended up qualifying in. But in game number 1, it was hot starts for NA West. They had to go over a mountain 6 different ways and 5 different times. A rocky game and a crazy finish, Kelly.
Came down to that bouncer play there, jumping into the spot that they needed to. Kyle Poppins as well as Trashy right there. 7 eliminations, and there you have it, the bouncer play to leap up, grab that height, and take the enemy team down. What a great Victory Royale for game number 1.
Up and past that, it was all the Ruben Fu, Buzzo, and Ordep's show. Back-to-back wins. First place 11 Elam's kind of like deja vu. This is the first one that started off. You're looking at them, you know, solidifying for a heal game. Didn't even need it. Buzzle popped, and then after that, they were going from the desert. It was dry. So many teams were fighting to Weeping Woods, where they tried to find some cover. Bouncers actually found them out. Buzzle still stayed up. There was a little bit of insurance to play, but then wanted to join the party as well. So Bouncers down, goes to the final Elam. Back-to-back wins. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, look at their loadouts. They were so confident with that height. And speaking about confidence, you definitely have to look at Quinn, Dylan, and Juicy right there. Also controlling the height as well. But this is, I believe, when we saw Juicy and Dylan jump down, actually, because they didn't just want height, they didn't want placement, but they also wanted those eliminations. And they ended it off there with, I believe, 9 eliminations. I believe it was 3 eliminations each, with Quinn grabbing that final elimination there. Incredible game. But my goodness, we have to talk about Ruben Fu, Buzzo, and Ordeps with 2 Victory Royales and 11 eliminations each. I think that this is the team that has controlled the height the best out of what we've seen from any other North American West teams.
It's dominant back-to-back, but in that last game, height was a little bit more shaky. It was Tammy Louie and yours, though, who finally overtook it and then held onto it. Even when we had Chris trying to go all the way up with Snacky and fight it down, it was still very good, and a nice final Victory Royale.
And now we're moving closer. Fortnite fam, game number 6 is just upon us. So let's take a look at the standings and let's set the stage here, heading into the final game of NA West in the semi-finals. Right now, Poppins, Trashy, Poppins, times 3. I mean, I feel like this is legitimately the closest we've seen any semi-finals round.
Easily. What?
It's like, yeah, normally like there's one team in first place that's far and away from everybody else, right? High up there with points. But right now, just a few points separating all these top 4 teams.
The craziest thing is that it was like that, Zeke, just a few games ago, right? Ruben Fu and company were all the way up top, I think with almost 30 to 40 point lead, but now it's all come back together. This is kind of consistency versus pop off. The question is, what will happen next game? Will Ruben Fu pop off again, or are they done for the night? That's the question.
I mean, but speaking of consistency, Kenshi, Snacky, and Pure Chris getting 3 games at 3rd place. I mean, talking about always the bridesmaid, but my goodness, when you're able to get 13 eliminations in 3rd place, who even needs the Victory Royale? But these teams right here that you're seeing 6th through 10th, these are the teams that are desperately going to be needing that Victory Royale, needing some kind of points to confirm their spot into the top 8. And of course, we have to look at the 9th through 16th place teams that are going to be fighting in the reboot round.
Yeah, and this last game is just basically all about all the teams who are on the bubble of top 8, and then those who want to qualify for the reboot round as well. So keep your eyes on Crimson versus Salt. Can they make it up on, you know, just the top 8? Just talking about that real quick. Union Fu now down to 7th. Zeph has been top 5 the whole time. Now he's 8th. Cool, Cooper, and Waver so close to breaking in, but are just 2 points behind. Sidla having a rocky day the entire time. Now with that 6th place, it's been a back-to-back. They're so close. Olaf is so close. So many trios, Kelly. I might just name off all of them because they all have a chance to just be still involved in the FNCS.
These teams are no longer fighting for 1st through 4th place. They are so far ahead of everyone else. But honestly, from like ninth place all the way down to 17th place, there's only about 40 points that separates them. And we've already seen a victory royale with more than 10 eliminations, which that in itself is 50 points. So I think all the way down to Salt's team, Crimson and Verse, who have 49 points right now, even below that to Zello Decaying, they still have a chance. We can definitely see some kind of shakeup here in the final games, which this is the moment to do it. You don't want to have to go through that reboot round where you only have one shot for that victory royale, Shio.
Yeah, and to just set up to there, the magic number is around 80 to 90 points. So keep an eye on those numbers besides everyone's health bars. It's the most important thing.
Game 6, casters, let's get it.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Kelly. And for one more time in the heats before the reboot round, we will be dropping onto the island. You see, Llama 210 going to be picked up right away off of the start, getting that coverage down, getting the extra mats, the bouncers, and everything that comes with it as we get a look at the drop spot here in the final match. And Clay, it has been one heck of a journey so far, and what are you keeping an eye on here in the final game?
A lot of different things. Union Fu and his team have dropped into 7th after coming out so hot, a 10th place, 2nd place, and 4th place, then translating into a 16th and 25th place. So they're going to have a very, very, very hard road to make sure they qualify. They came into this game in 7th place though, but Sundown finally, we get a Northwest zone this time around.
Going up to the Northwest for what feels like one of the first times we haven't pulled this side necessarily too many times. They're now hopping on board here. Temi, Luis, and Yoris again were able to wrap up the victory royale in match number 5. That's also going to wrap up the qualification for the finals there with 131 points. Just looking kind of at the leaderboard coming into the game, we talked about it 1 through 4, pretty much secured. But outside of that too, 5 through 7 aren't necessarily under too much pressure. If they're able to just get a couple placement points here, 1 or 2 eliminations, they should be able to lock it up, which right now really kind of puts the pressure and onus on one of those teams in between the 9th through 16th to have a really big game in order to push up, or to just be holding on, because there's a distinct drop off after kind of that 11th spot. So it's going to be really interesting to see which teams are playing for a shot at the reboot round, which teams are able to make a push for that top 8, and if any of kind of those 5th through 9th, and is that we're going to hop on board with one of those teams on the bubble here. You have Morgan, Edmungo, and Zeph already rocking on 2 eliminations, and they will find the 3rd there. Morgan luckily does not get confirmed over, so they will be able to get that revive, have the med kit there as well, and they're definitely going to be thankful for those 6 points pushing them up.
And luckily for them as well, there's not a 3rd trio this time around. We've seen it before where there's that 3rd trio that comes in, and luckily they don't have to worry about that, as we do see Tanman and Ja unfortunately going to fall. Coach Chad in the elimination fee as well. Anthony going to go down. I believe Ja and company have all but been eliminated. Not in contention here. Maybe still in contention for the rebound round. I do not think so there, but they still have an opportunity to maybe make it. Again, I'm not sure exactly on their placement coming into this game, but Edmungo and them, perfect off spawn fight, but there is a 3rd party. It wasn't there initially, but Salvo, Moni, and Pierre are coming in very, very quickly because they want to get this right. They know that they need to have a great game.
Yeah, a couple of shots coming out right away in support of Edmungo. As you can see there, the distance being closed. Coach Chad also going off there in the Elam feed. That's his 3rd straight Elam off the back end. And Mungo just completely exposed himself to the player directly behind him. Takes 3 tags, shield cracked right away. Needs to create some distance, but he has absolutely no builds. He drops down, and we could see their tournament ended right now, being forced into the reboot round as our 8th place team, after picking up 3 Elams, has Moni riding over the hills, coming to the rescue to the Warriors here, and they're going to be wiped out. All of a sudden, we talked about it, leaving that door open for the other teams through, and the 8th place team, despite being able to pick up 3 key eliminations, gets utterly dismantled by Moni, Pierre, and G-Salves.
And that was, I believe, our 23rd place team coming in. They need a big game because they could play for that top 8, but more realistically, they're looking to get in maybe at 9, maybe a clutch 10 elimination victory royale for them, but they definitely have the chance to make it in the reboot round for sure. So a great start. They needed that. They needed elimination. They've also been struggling with Storm Surge as well. So great all-around start for them. As you do move over to Caddy Corner, another trio looking to come in. The third party, once again, this is our 9th place team coming into this game. And with our 8th place team out, they have wiggle room.
There's some room up there on the leaderboard now, and everybody should know it if they're keeping an eye on that elimination feed. So now we're going to swing on over. You can see Stagger, Curris, and Sorp at 24 over at Sweaty Sands. 2 other trios rotating in from the northwest as well, so they're trying to get a little bit more central to the zone. Currently sitting on 43 points, 19th place coming in this match, so looking to try and make a push for that reboot round if possible. Again, just keeping any hope of being in the FNCS alive as we are in match 6. Those hopes are dwindling. That candle is burning down, but who can get just a little bit more gas in the final moments as the gas can ends up popping off right there. The timing impeccable. Thank you very much, players, as come play a Club Penguin wreck, trying to be on the other side there of the snipe through the wall. Unlike in match 5, not going to be able to connect. Checking his 6, not seeing anybody approaching on the backside, but knows that there's builds there, so needs to be a little bit cautious. We've seen, again, if you're not necessarily hip to hip, at any point in time, a snipe could be the end of you. So these guys need to be careful. Currently sitting on 58 points, 14th place coming in this game. So currently in a reboot round threshold, but could very well be dropped out as Club Penguin is just going full send. He just bounced it on top of this trio. They're taking this fight.
They are indeed, and it's on to Blezro, who I think needs like a 15 elimination victory royale to even come close to contending. And the shots go through. Blezro is going to get taken down pretty low. Oracle going to take down Nerdy. Club Penguin Wreck going to go down very low. They're trying to get the maximum amount of Storm Surge tags. One player, I believe, still up for the enemy trio. They get so much loot, and they know exactly what they need to do. And I believe that the 9th place team was eliminated as well. That's Wave Cool and Cooper.
That was Kelly's prediction, going down there in 9th, not taking advantage of that breathing room given by the 8th place team, going down, potentially somebody else being able to push up. We should see them in the reboot round a little bit after this, but currently hopping on board here with my prediction. Match number 2 and 3 winner. They secured their qual after 3 games, but have struggled a little bit in the games where they haven't just been able to wipe off of drop, but still continuing forward with their aggressive play style. And I would love to see them take first place here so I could gain some prediction points over Shadow Wager, because somehow, again, he is in first place. I don't know who keeps giving him the script. I tell the writers to give it to me ahead of time, but they keep making revisions, and I thought we agreed not to do that as we see Buzzo and co. beginning their rotation through Salty Towers. A number of teams around here, so expect for some decent amount of aggression right now, but realistically, everyone just wants to hold on to the placement points because they know this is their last opportunity to find match. And as I say that, actually, you see the aggression coming out from Aruko and his team. They found the last member there. That was CZR, who's just completely caught out. That's the 1v3. Must have got an audio cue or something. But again, they need to be careful because we talk about the third party, and there's more and more players heading towards them. Look at that bottom right-hand corner. There's so many different trios nearby, and they were unable to find that elimination fast enough.
And they didn't want to go in too far too quickly, but now that the entire trio is here, they're going back in. They know that CZR is a solo, as Oracle is trying to get a nice little snipe. They honestly, I think if they get that snipe, they push this solo, and then they would continue to go push that team across the river there, as CZR is going to go down. It's going to go over to Inferno, though, as he ended up going up instead of back the way they wanted him to go. So not able to capitalize on that siphon. Will get the mats and the loot from him, but 2 eliminations, a lot of Storm Surge damage already for them is great. But Kyle Poppins, that's Epic Walrus, going to go down in the feed. They are secured in first place, but you know, you kind of want to go out with that win.
I mean, I just talked about my personal opinion on that. I have absolutely no biases or stakes in this whatsoever, but if Shadow Wager happens to lose prediction points because they go down early in match number 6, you're not going to see me complaining at all. We will be seeing them in the finals next weekend, so we're going to swing on over to select Coach G there. Decent loadout for them. 3 eliminations as well on the backside of some good play early on from GGEs and Coach Chad. And you see them making a really smart rotation. If we saw earlier from the trios, there were so many teams who were on that eastern side of the map, while they're going far south and all the way to the west. So they're playing for that placement. They know from their 3 eliminations they should be safe for the first and second round of Storm Surge as long as they're able to get in the zone and get a decent position. And as you see them creeping up on the safe zone, the bottom right hand corner in your screen, there is nobody nearby. So they have all the room in the world to work with. So will this other trio. It's all about just getting the zone and getting some space. And whoever your chauffeur is, you might want to switch that one up. Oak and Elsa and Olaf. Y'all were not necessarily driving straight, and that wasn't a tough one. Flipping the taxi there, and now just going to try and head back on over to zone as they get the reveal on the full, and the movement is going to come through. They're following basically the exact same path we just saw.
Definitely a 2-star review for me if I was in that car, that driver. Don't know what Olaf is doing, but like you said, we just saw the same rotation, and we knew it was very easy for that team, and so it's going to be very easy for them, and they need it. They don't have a lot to work with.
No, and they're actually below Storm Surge, so I was wondering why they're heading kind of towards that eastern side. They need to go look for some damage, and they see a little bit of shots coming out. I think they might have got the wheel shot now of that taxi there for all 3 of them to instantly exit the team over kind of by that fishing pond there, providing a little bit of hassle for them, but still 14 damage below Storm Surge, and with only 4 players who could potentially be threatened by it, there's not going to be as much action driven, and luckily for them, they're going to be able to find the tags they need to just be able to head into zone, but they should probably look to get a couple more so they don't risk getting iced out by that Storm Surge, as yeah, again, still 46 damage below. They need to be finding some shots. They can't afford to wait and not go aggressively. You actually see them preemptively chug splashing right now, saying like, hey, we don't have the HP, and a good rifle round being thrown over, but they're actually going the wrong way in terms of that threshold.
They're gonna have to make a play and make it quickly, because we've seen teams not do well with the Storm Surge tags, and look at who they're moving towards. It's Lewis, Timmy, and Joris there. They've got to be careful of that. Is that team there? They are in 4th place. They've definitely secured their qualification, but they could overtake and come first. And you know, I don't really have stakes in the side as my trio not doing as well as they could, so I'm gonna hop on board the Sundown train, trying to dethrone Shire Wager in our predictions. But Joris is gonna go down to Moni, of all people.
Of all people, whoop whoop, all aboard the Sundown train. Here we go. But the sniper bullet coming through, and Olaf gonna catch that one with his chest like he was a wide receiver. He says, get down, Mr. President, I got you. But that's going to be the last of their chug splashes there to try and get him up, and you can see the rotation coming from Moni and Co. right over on the side. Temmie is in the way with Luis as well. Don't see Joris on the camera, so can assume that he ended up going down. That is a trio who already qualified, but the only trio who will be under Storm Surge threshold. We're on board with them right now. They're a bubble team. They're trying to push through and get the pressure. They need to find some shots. They're 1 damage above, 44 below, but then finally they're able to find it and get the damage they need there to push well and above, and also got a much needed elimination. So out of the fire there, able to calm it down, get what they need, blanket the ground, and take the Storm Surge off the board, take the elimination, and that could have been their tournament lives. And you can see right away they're not wasting any time. Oh, they catch a sniper bullet right away. What are they doing?
Unfortunate there, but it doesn't seem like they're gonna get pushed. But no, it's Chris, Snacky, and their teammate there that, you know, we all know they like to push, to be very aggressive. Kenshi will definitely be leading that charge, and I think there are those lime green arrows there on your mini map, so able to make it. They're hopping back in their taxi, and we already know, as we see Kyle Poppins, Epic Wars, and Trashy gonna go down. It's all up to EXE if he's even in the game.
But I don't know if you're paying attention to where that zone pulled. We're going all the way northwest. We got the Steamy Stack zone last time. Well, we get Coral Castle zone this time. You couldn't get any more northwest in terms of the 3rd zone. The safe zone is literally touching the 4th one on that outside. So that made that outside rotation just that much better that we saw early on. But now we're going to hop on board here. Monk, Sidla, and Mateo. And they got tons of space right in the middle of the zone. Nobody necessarily sees them. They're completely spread out. They're those blue triangles represented on the right-hand side, and they have all the real estate to work with. There is nobody on this side of the zone. So as long as 4th pulls even moderately north, they're going to get a free pass, at least to the 1st round of placement points.
But if it doesn't pull north in any direction, they're going to have a very hard time rotating unless they dip into Coral. But coming out of Coral is really hard with those steep inclines and the amount of trios that are inside of there. We do see Silver there and Tender trying to find some extra loot, looking for any snipes as a fight is going to break down. Cool and Lack trying to get out of this one, decaying. Gonna take down Costly. Lack is just hiding up above. As Cool goes on to a whole nother trio. Looks like they're more than likely going to be pushed there. As we have, I believe, Juicy trying to rotate through. That's Switch Homie Quinn and his teammate there. I don't believe Dylan was up. And again, they're not secured. They're in 6th place.
Yeah, again, they're one of the trios who just needs a couple more points. But again, disaster could fall in any moment as we're getting to the moments that are going to matter. We're going to see where that 4th zone goes, and then priority positioning around the outside for the half and half 5th zone is going to determine a lot of this end game. We're going to swing back on board here with our favorite Frozen duo along with Oaken, Elsa, and Olaf. You can see 4 elims on the board, 8 points so far in this game. Placement points about to start ticking over. 53 players remaining, but still 19 trios up on the board. So plenty of full trios still on their feet. You can see Vinny getting knocked to the hands of Snacky. And right now, nobody wanted to take any risks as we have pulled towards the north side. This rotation is going to be awful for the teams on the southern side, trying to pull up right to the base of that high ground, and not even to the base. You have to go pretty much halfway through that mountain. So if you start early rotating, everyone who's in between you is going to start taking shots. If you late rotate, everyone who is already set up is going to start taking shots. You have to time this correctly, and they're just swimming out in the open, not a care in the world, dolphin diving across. And unlike every other time they've rotated where they were pretty much covered, no sniper bullets come through this time, and they're gonna find their way right onto the priority edge of zone. And they're even going up to near second height. That is one of the most fortunate or well-timed rotations. I was talking about how hard that rotation was going to be, and they just simply walked forward.
It was beautiful by them, and now in a great position to impact the rest of the game. Didn't use a lot of mats. They're set up pretty well. They've got heals in the inventory as well. If they want to use them, the chug splash will be used. Poppers on Oaken as well. Depending on where those half in, half out goes, if they want to try to play mid ground, they can. They could even look to take high ground.
They could look to take, and you see Storm Surge will take on. Only one trio will be threatened by it. One singular player needs to go down, so you can expect that not to play too much of a role here in zone number 5. We will be transitioning to those moving zones here in a little bit. Where half in, half out ends up pulling is going to play a huge role. Again, you can see right now up on the high ground, you do have Coach Chad, GGEZ with priority positioning, but not necessarily a strong foundation, a decent amount of wood built up in there. However, don't really see an RPG necessarily in play as that zone is closing, and keep an eye. 20 seconds, we will see where the half in, half out goes. You can anticipate it's going to come to the southeastern side. It generally doesn't pull completely over water, but if it goes to the north, everything is just going to go literally haywire. What we're going to see here just in 5 seconds, we'll see where the movement ends up coming out, who will have that position. It's generally signaled by who will end up going straight up to the high ground, but no immediate building necessarily coming out, which could signal that it has gone over to where the high ground already is at. As you can see, the tunneling coming out towards a little bit of the western side, and we're going north and east, so everyone on that southern side is going to have to make the rotation into the 4 teams who have already posted up here.
And Sidlaw, Monk, and Mateo have very rarely had to move during this zone, and they're going to be gifted some great RNG setup mid of this half in, half out. They are looking to just try to get as many placement points as they can. 259 above. They do not have to worry about Storm Surge, especially in these moving zones. They have 6 chug splashes as well. They are playing for placement, placement, placement. They're not even really looking for any peaks. You see, completely edited. Yes, they may go up to their cones. Yes, they may look for these, but they're one placement. They're looking at high ground because they think they can take it, but in reality, if they play mid ground really well, they just stay together, they could qualify.
That's what it's all about, just making it to the top 3, getting every point possible. As we see Ruben Fu and Co going down there, 2 of them being eliminated. That should be all 3. We're about to now take over into the placement points. Here's the tough rotation we talk about. And pretty much everyone on the southern side opting to actually go around to the north into the west around the outside where the previous teams have rotated through. Olaf finds an elimination to push us into the placement points. That's a 3-point play there, pushing them up above 80 points and in towards the contention. Again, don't forget they were 11th place coming into the match, but with the eliminations and with our 7th, 8th, and 9th place teams all falling early on, there's going to be plenty of room to be able to move up that leaderboard. So keeping an eye right now, trying to find the AR spare on the wall, but the zone is pulling directly back across them. They have really good positioning over here as they're going east towards Coral Castle. This is going to be a tough rotation, particularly for everyone who just opted to go around the northwest side. Well, you're going back to the other corner you just came from.
And because it goes down, it once again can go up these very steep inclines. Not as steep as we saw in game number 1, but for a lot of these trios, it could eliminate them as we see everybody rotating soon. Mateo, Sidla, and Monk will follow as well. They may be able to get some shots on this team, but a very early rotate will net them front of zone, and this is where you can operate really well as a trio. If they just stick together, look for picks, and look for these eliminations, they can get into the top points of placement. And now we've hit at sundown. Every single placement point is going to come through.
I'm just keeping an eye on their damage threshold on the right-hand side for them. That's at 445 below. It currently says 517 below. That's an absurd number. You are not going to find that. You just have to hope that you can outlast and that the Storm Surge turns off at the end of this rotation, because you guys need to go into a box and literally full eliminate a trio, like literally now. 2v3, otherwise that Storm Surge is going to take over. So Ordep is actually still up on his feet, trying to 1v3 by himself, going to find 2 elims. Union Fu also still up on his feet as well. That was our 7th place team coming in. Misspoke there. It was 8, 9, and 10 who ended up going down. But Monk finds huge tags going through. Going to find the finish as well. All of a sudden cuts that Storm Surge in half. Will get the finish. Sidla is going to go down. Storm Surge is going to begin ticking over. So Monk is going to need a play. Again, it's all about the top 8. This is match number 6 in NA West. Heat 4, this is the last opportunity besides the reboot round. The purple lightning is coming down from the sky. Monk needs to find 123 damage. He has plenty of shields. He has somebody on his wall, but it's just wood. Dips out the side of the zone, still under Storm Surge threshold. He has the minis to be able to pop it. He also has his zone in his back. Player in between on the bubble, 76 points and a dream, and the dream is going to end right there. We'll see you in the reboot round, Monk. But your FNCS is going to hinge on that victory, as now we're going to swing over. Elsa, Olaf, and Oaken on the low ground, staying hip to hip. We have top 10 now, and they continue pushing forward, trying to find every point possible.
Can they get into that qualification range? Elsa trying to do it there, trying to sing that song of qualification, but getting a little bit too greedy. Is going to get tagged up from above. They will get in his own 6 eliminations so far. They're trying to harpoon any match that they have. Meaning they have very little. Elsa coming down, unfortunately, a player from behind. Oaken now has to try to clutch up. He does get elimination. Cabbages are there. He is 13. This is going to be a very long zone play for him. He also has a medkit. He also has the floppers. If he pops these, he can get the medkit off if he wants to. He's waiting for that zone to pop. Maybe he goes back. He's got a lot of time in zone, a lot of mats there as well. Not even opting to pick up that medkit, trying to just get in. He's got the cabbages to heal back up. 6 builds remaining, now down to 0. He's not going to be able to get it, but a lot of placement that may have gotten him there. It may have put him up. Batman Booga trying to qualify as well. He needs a solo clutch up. Needs to get into that top 3. RPG is though. He's got 1 inventory, no builds remaining. He's got to try to make something happen. It's going up this mountain though. He doesn't have it. It pulls up like he said. RPG gonna come through. He gets that elimination. Will he be able to convert? Again, top 3. He grabs a couple mats. He's got to follow this. He can't. I honestly don't shoot at him. Maybe able to make something happen. No, not going to be able to do so. The elimination goes over, but a great play for them. Oracle and company need this victory royale. I think to qualify, they put so much down, and no, not going to be able to do so. Decaying and company on the high ground. Gonna take it 100 points. I think they're going to qual as well.
100 points, 11 eliminations in the victory royale in the final moments, but will it be enough? We saw Ding & Co got every single zone in the rotation. We talked about how this was the closest any of our heats have been in terms of the top 8 and what that line would be. What a final match. I have no clue what the leaderboard looks like. I've been trying to do math at the end, but what a way to end heats.
I have no idea either. We're definitely going to need Zeke, Shio, and Kelly to really help us break that down, because like you said, this was the closest heat, so we got to throw it over to them to see what they have for us.
Thank you so much, Sundown and Clay. They did not say goodbye, because don't forget, we got the reboot round coming up And as they're kind of talking about, this is extremely close. We knew that kind of coming into this last match in NA West. It's been a nail-biter the entire time. So many trios are kind of like looking at each other being like, wait, if you take a step, that means I don't qual. And they're like, well, if you take a step, I don't qual. Whereas a lot of times we just see a lot of these trios just pull so far ahead away. At that point, all these other trios are looking to just make it into Reboot Round. That wasn't the case. This time around, you see what I did there?
No.
Did you see a shot?
I did. Still,
Okay, that's good.
usually we have like, some type of know-how, some type of threshold to see what happened. But after Oaken, clutched up all the way to triple digits, after we have a few more teams winning and going down right at the final moments, it'll have to be up to those standings, because I'm not sure myself, even while paying pinpoint precision attention to what's going on, who actually qualified.
And you were saying, Zeke, how close that this competition was, but there was kind of two different groupings that had this close fight. It was top 4 that were all within 10 points of each other, kind of battling for that first place spot. And then it was 5th through 16th, only 40 points away from each other. 1 victory royale and 5 eliminations could have gotten them up into that 8th place spot. But now we got to find who actually did make it into our top 8. So let's find out right now.
Ooh, that's the winner of the heat entirely. Rubenfu, Buzzo, an
Wait a minute.
four-depth season, 2 victory royales, 37 elims, and an average of 13th place.
Wait a minute.
Incredible performance there, 37 eliminations, but of course it came down to those 2 victory royales that we saw in games number 2 and 3 that pretty much set them for the rest